What's going on, Lions fans? Welcome to the Pride of Detroit PODcast, your home for all the latest and greatest Lions news, updates, analysis, and so much more. Today, we have a jam-packed podcast and a number of different things to talk about. I'm your host, Miko. You can find me over on Twitter at the Miko Scott. And yeah, we have a ton of different news, updates, and all of these different things to talk about because free agency has still been going on. And even though Jeremy's the one that went on vacation, for some reason, I feel like I'm like 2 weeks out of the loop. I feel like I've missed a lot of things, even though I've been around, and it just feels like so much time has gone by. But before we jump into what everything we have to talk about today, let me introduce my two amazing co-hosts. First and foremost, we have your senior editor over at prideofdetroit.com, Ryan Matthews at Ryan_POD. Ryan, does it feel like it's been as long for you as it is for me? Because I feel like I haven't talked to either of you in like a lifetime. I don't know why that is.
Yeah, we did a podcast last week together, Miko. But that
I
feels
don't.
like it was
Yeah,
ages ago. Yeah.
yeah. Like I don't know. Maybe the fact that we weren't just jumping on every new signing is why it feels like it's been a while. But yeah, also back from vacation, looking a little bit more bronzed than I probably would have thought he probably would be, considering that it apparently was pretty windy and cloudy in Florida. Jeremy Reisman at Detroit Online over there on Twitter. Jeremy, how are you feeling? Hopefully refreshed and ready to talk some Lions.
I'm a little refreshed. I was telling you before the show, I have like this weird condition where I still feel like brain fog and a little bit of like not sickness, but like I don't know, an equilibrium problem after being on a cruise, and I'm 5 days out of it now and still kind of feeling it, but. I am ready to talk about some Lions football to, I think, a Lions fan base that needs a little bit of talking to. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but like, I feel like there's a lot of Lions fans out there seeking audio therapy, and that's what I'm here to provide today, I think.
I was gonna say you're talking about your equilibrium being a little off. I feel like the fan base's equilibrium is a little bit off because while there have been moves made and some moves that we've asked for, I don't think people really know where they should land on it. So I think that's one of the things that we're definitely going to talk about in this podcast is really just like, has the team gotten better or have they regressed in certain areas? But before we get into that, let's jump on like some of the most recent roster signings that kind of happened last week. Let's start with one of the biggest ones that I think got a lot of fans at least buzzing. I still don't know exactly where we should land on it, but DJ Wonnum signing with the Lions. Contract details came out not too long ago. It does seem to be a 1 year deal up to 3 years with incentives. So, Jeremy, I mean, just overall, how do you kind of feel about this move and the Lions going out and finding a value pass rusher, I guess, in free agency?
Yeah, I think my main takeaway from this selection, this signing, is well, I would say Ryan's favorite trait in someone. And it sounds weird for someone who went through a like gruesome injury and recovery, but DJ Wonnum has played a lot of snaps since being in the NFL. And shout out to our friend Al Karsten, 3,800 defensive snaps since 2020. Since 2020, the 13th most amongst all edge players. When he got back from the gruesome leg injury and the blood clot stuff and all the weird medical stuff that he had to go through, even these past 2 years in Carolina, he averaged 48 snaps per game, which is a hefty load. That's a lot of playing time. And considering I view him more as a Marcus Davenport replacement than I do an Al-Qadim Muhammad replacement because of all the run ability, because of all the first and second down things, you have a little bit of reliability. You have a little bit of availability now in a position where you haven't had that for the past 2-3 years. We can debate, how much he's going to help with the pass rush, which is probably not all that much, but I think he's a strong run defender. He's got long arms. He's a physical player. He fits kind of that mold as tall, long, and physical that they like on first and second down. And now they have a guy on a really affordable contract that they can probably, knock on wood, depend on actually being out there and available on game day.
Yeah, Ryan, this was a move that we talked about last week, and I think there was a good amount of optimism in regards to just the Lions going out there and getting a guy that, like Jeremy's saying, is reliable, that has been productive in the league, and at least has a trait where you're like, okay, early down situations, he should definitely be out there when you're talking about first and second down, being able to help out against the run. But he does have some years, specifically going back to his Minnesota days, where he was pretty, impactful when it came down to getting to the quarterback. I think he had at least 2 seasons where he racked up at least 8 sacks or more in a couple of seasons there in Minnesota.
Yeah, I think it's a signing that I equate it very much to the Larry Borum signing, where it's like, do you want this guy to be the starter? Probably not, but can he be the starter? Yes. Like he could play a starter's level worth of snaps for the Detroit Lions, and it prevents you from having to go into the draft with just like an outrageous need at a specific spot. So I like the way that it raises the floor of that room. I think that combined with Levi Onwuzurike, plus if they draft somebody, plus Ahmed Hassanin, like you have a room that definitely has room to grow, but you have some younger players, right? Like if you draft a guy in the first or second round, if you have Hassanin, we'll see where things go with that. But I think it was an important signing and one that could signal to us that this is a plan B. This is a contingency plan. Like this is a Brad Holmes special. Nobody wants to hear that because when they hear that, they think Emmanuel Mosley or they think of Marcus Davenport. But this guy has a track record of playing, aside from a scary injury that the complications from the quadricep thing that he went through in his final year in Minnesota. But it's a signing that like I'm cool with, right? It's depth to the room. At the very least, you have a guy who you can depend on to play a starter's level share of snaps.
Yeah.
And Jeremy, this kind of reminds me of some of the early moves that they made back in 2021, where they were giving out a lot of these types of 1-year deals to guys, just kind of like as prove it deals to figure out like, okay, who do they want to kind of keep on long term? And DJ Wonnum kind of fits into that category where it's like, hey, we're talking about like, hey, really good run stuffer, could be really prolific in helping them get back to being a stout run defense. But if he starts to really show chops as a pass rusher and maybe not necessarily put up Al-Quadin Muhammad numbers, but even gets 6, 7, 8 sacks on the season, maybe that's a guy that you can hitch your horse to for the long term, especially because the first year deal is so low that it should be relatively easy to kind of up that number if you decide to extend him long term.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, it kind of feels like that Charles Harris first year contract where it's like, hey, let's take a stab on him, let's see what happens, and if you do well, which he did, we'll give you another year. I would say Wonnum's probably got a bit of a higher ceiling than that, or really a higher floor than that, because of how much productive football he's played. He's played. I'm trying to do the math here, 39 games in the past 2 seasons, obviously missed that half season in 2024, but he started all but one of those games. So like he can take on that load. To me, I almost view it more than a depth signing. I think this guy is going to play and maybe even start for this team, but you have to remember that position requires heavy rotation, right? To me, it feels like one half of the solution at edge opposite Aiden Hutchinson. I don't mind him playing 40 snaps a game for this football team, especially if it's mostly coming on first and second down. I'm not that optimistic about him as a pass rusher, which is why I feel like there needs to be a corresponding half move. And maybe that's getting a guy with a top 50 pick. Maybe that's getting one of these veteran edge rushers who are still out there, whether it's Cameron Jordan, Joey Bosa, whatever. I don't like where the room is at overall, but I do like this addition as part of the solution, half of the solution, because I do think he's a guy that is going to contribute 30 to 40 snaps per game and do a pretty good job at it if we're talking about setting the edge, if we're talking about being physical, maybe even sliding inside on some late downs. If they're looking, he could very much be kind of that Levi Onwuzurike player if you can't trust Levi this year. So, I do like the move. I do like the move at the price, which is always something important to consider. He comes in cheaper than Al-Quadin Muhammad, not by a lot, but a little bit. But he's going to play a lot more than Al-Quadin Muhammad. Al-Quadin Muhammad, he averaged last year 27 snaps per game compared to DJ Wonnum's 48. So at a lower price, you're getting almost double the production in terms of just availability on the field. So I do like the move. I just hope there's more coming around the corner here.
Yeah. One move that the Lions were also able to make last week as well, which again I think is another good value move, is the signing of wide receiver Greg Dortch, a guy that was I think a few people were speculating like, hey, could find his way to the Lions, seeing as they were not bringing back Khalif Raymond. Now you have a guy that can be one of your key punt returners, as well as possibly still be one of your wide receiver 4 players out there that can go out there and do some of the things that Khalif Raymond did for you. Ryan, like, how did this signing kind of land with you when the news kind of came across?
I love Khalif Raymond. Khalif Raymond was awesome. Like Khalif Raymond was a 2-time second team All-Pro returner for the Detroit Lions, and he was just the example of reliability when it came to that wide receiver 4 role, right? Like how many times did we mention, in a game recap, oh, remember that third down catch that Khalif Raymond had, or remember that catch that Khalif Raymond had on that drive to kickstart things, and it was a 15, 16, 17-yard catch that really got the ball rolling on a drive. I think I remember looking at it like over the past 3 seasons. I think he had like 2 drops total. And he was also just one of those guys from the 2021 team that really earned it, right? Like the Lions, they had nobody at wide receiver. Rashad Perryman left, didn't even make the team.
Concussion.
Tyrell Williams made it a quarter into his NFL career with the Detroit Lions, and then it was Khalif Raymond, and he was a guy who stepped up, and he had that versatility to play inside outside. Signing Dortch, I love the prospect of getting A, younger at the position, B, getting a guy who has that kick return ability too, because I think that's something that the Lions were kind of flying by the seat of their pants with, like, maybe it's Grant Stewart in the preseason. You bring some stability, and you bring an awful lot of experience to that spot, because he actually had a pretty good kick return grade last season, a 75.1 from PFF and an 83.7 punt return grade, a total grade for that. But 46 returns last year, 28 the year before that, 46 the year before. So he's got an awful lot of experience in that role. I just wonder what his role is going to look like in Detroit. Now, I love that you have some familiarity with the offensive coordinator and Drew Petzing. That's a huge thing to have, him with the leg up, so to speak. But Jeremy, I think, you look at his splits. He was a guy who was primarily a slot wide receiver over the past couple of seasons with Petzing, lining up 2024, 66.5% of his snaps in the slot. Last year, over 70% of his snaps in the slot. Maybe that's the role they have, right? Maybe because this is the season where Isaac Teslaw, you are a wide receiver X for the most part.
Yeah, and that kind of highlights one of the more underrated parts about Khalif, is that even though he looks like a slot receiver, he backed up like every position. He knew every position. They could throw him out there no matter what situation they're in. And I don't know if Dortch has that. He's smaller, so it living on the outside is going to be tough for him on offense. But I still kind of view this as almost an ideal replacement for Khalif Raymond. Even though he might not get you all that versatility on offense, he's coming at a third of the price that Khalif got in Chicago. He, like you said, he's bringing way more kick return experience than Khalif did. I don't think Khalif dropped off in the way that maybe his punt yardage average dropped last year. That's such a fickle stat because of how important it is of where are they punting from. If they're, the Lions defense wasn't good last year, right? So when they actually got them to punt, it was usually from like midfield. Not a lot of space to get a lot of big returns, and the Lions kind of encouraged him to field some of those ones inside the 10 where, you're just kind of preventing it from getting down at the 1 rather than trying to get 4 or 5, 10, 15 yards. So I don't want to act like Khalif fell off, but you are getting younger at the position. You're getting cheaper at the position. You have an offensive scheme fit because of the coordinator, and you have guys with a little bit more special teams experience beyond just a punt returner. So I like that move a lot too, to be quite honest. A lot of these bargain bin ones I'm fans of because they're low risk, high reward. Doesn't mean I'm necessarily pleased with the overall vision, but I think a lot of these moves make a lot of sense given the financial situation the Lions were in, given the fact that they clearly had some sort of discussion about getting younger this offseason, and I think Greg Dortch fits perfectly into those plans.
Yeah, I think the thing that I like most about this deal is kind of twofold. One, it's kind of like you guys said, you're getting younger at the position, younger and cheaper at the position, which is great, but you're also continuing to add competition into this team, right? I think we were all kind of going into next season once Khalif signed with the Bears, where it's like, well, I guess this is Dominic Lovett's job to lose, and it was kind of like with a question mark at the end of it, and you immediately go out there, you sign a veteran, and at the very least, you are continuing to have competition at every position going into camp, and the Lions can still potentially go out there and sign another or not sign or draft, I guess technically, another wide receiver on day 3 that can also compete for this type of role. Where if you are looking for somebody that's maybe a little bit more versatile than Greg Dortch when it comes down to alignment, somebody that can play in the slot and maybe play outside, then sure, you can go and invest in that in like the 6th round. And I don't think anyone's going to be clutching their pearls and throwing a fit, but you can still kind of do that. I also love the fact that this is a guy that you start kind of looking at his career for the most part has been pretty sure-handed, right? Not a ton of drops, somebody that considering the quarterback situation, again, not trying to throw a lot of slight at Kyler Murray, but you're going to a quarterback with Jared Goff that is going to be able that has been very good at getting the ball to his receivers in optimal situations. So maybe it won't be a ton of opportunities, but I feel like Greg Dortch will be able to at least make the most of the opportunities he gets when the ball comes his way.
Agreed.
All right. Next signing that we got to get to is probably like my second favorite of the week. Obviously, DJ Wonnum was my favorite, but Damani Clark is one that I think you go back a couple drafts and a lot of the fan base were like, hey, the Lions need to go out and get this linebacker in the draft. And sure enough, the Cowboys take him before the Lions, I think, had a chance to take him, or maybe it was like around the time where I think a good amount of people thought like, hey, the Lions might take him at this pick. And I think he went before the Lions actually had a chance to get him. But once again, another player that comes to the Lions, 1-year deal, $1.4 million. Jeremy, where do you see Damani Clark kind of fitting in? Because the Lions do have a need at linebacker, but when I look at like his career so far in the league, it's a really big toss up if this is a depth signing or someone that's actually going to compete for a starting role.
Yeah, admittedly, I haven't dug too much into the tape or anything with Damone Clark, but I will say, it's a fascinating story. I looked back at some of the Cowboys' reaction to waiving him last year. There's seemingly a lot of confusion about that because, he was providing, not like that Cowboys defense was ever good, but he was providing, I would say, like average level play based on, their reactions based on PF grades, whatever you have there. Obviously, there was a lot of people very high, like you said, on him in the draft process before the spinal fusion stuff came out and had him drop into day 3. What I did find on him in some of my cursory research thing, though, is like, so when Brian Schottenheimer waives him last year, obviously every player, every coach is going to hype up their players, even and not going to dump on someone after they leave. But the question that was asked about him was like, why are you confident in the rest of your room to make a move like that? And his answer was mostly just about Damone and what he liked about him. He says, quote, "What an incredible young man he is. In my conversation with Damone, I said, hey man, your career is just getting started. Sometimes change is good. I really believe that. That's not bullshit." Like that seems heartfelt. That seems real. Again, I know I know coaches are going to be professional about that sort of thing, but it gets me wondering if maybe there was just like a schematic thing that wasn't fitting there. So I don't know. I'm interested to see what happens. Obviously, he's got a ton of special teams experience. He had 313 special team snaps last year. Obviously, he has a relationship with Kelvin Shepard, so they know what kind of kid he is and what kind of work ethic he has. But in terms of like what he's actually going to contribute on the field, like I'm kind of with you. I'm not really sure. I don't know if he's going to compete for a starting spot, or I don't know if he's kind of going to be just like one of those top reserves. The linebacker room is another one of those that I feel like is a little bit incomplete right now. I feel like there still needs to be a move or two made there. Not necessarily one to compete for a starting job, but at least filling out that room with special teams guys, filling out that room with depth. I certainly think he's in the conversation to be in that competition, being that, if we're going to bring back the bloodbath in the linebacker room, be part of that competition to play. He's got enough experience in this league to do it. But in terms of like his skill set, that's something I'm still kind of digging in on.
Yeah, and again, my apologies for mispronouncing his first name, Damone Clark. Ryan, how do you kind of see this kind of shaking out? Because I'm kind of with Jeremy in the same regard, where this maybe could just be like a Grant Stewart replacement, right? When you talk about special teams play, but at the same time, like I can't help but like look at that 2023 season where I'm like, hey, he started every game and had like a respectable season with 109 tackles, 3 quarterback hits, 4 tackles for loss. Like a guy that looks like he can play at that level. I'm not sure what happened in 2024 and 2025, but it feels like if you can kind of get that guy to tap back into that, maybe you do have somebody that can challenge Derek Barnes for that starting will spot possibly.
I think you look at just his history, and I know Jeremy mentioned the spinal fusion surgery to repair that herniated disc he had a month before the NFL draft. Like before that happened, they were talking about a guy who was like a surefire day 2 pick, if not like maybe might sneak up into day 1. That happens, and that guy still played 10 games in his rookie season.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe that, right? Like that was the expectation, is like, okay, this guy just had spinal fusion surgery. 2022 is off the table. You might see him in 2023, or will he ever play football again? Guy played 10 games in 2022, like a few months later, which is just insane. So like the guy clearly loves football, and I think that this is one of those signings. And Jeremy brought it up. I was going to say it, like, this is just the bloodbath room again. This is Calvin Shepard's bloodbath room that he mentioned on Hard Knocks, where it's Rodrigo in there. You have this guy in Damone Clark that I think, again, one of the more eye-opening things is he gets waived. He gets to Houston. Houston immediately trusts him to be a four-phase special teamer. Mm-hmm. He plays 130 special team snaps in 6 regular season games with the Houston Texans. Just like, we need you and we can trust you. So I think, Miko, from that standpoint, you get that. Now you get him in camp, and what can he do defensively? Is he that Will replacement? Is he a guy who, I think the Lions have a lot of experimentation to do just outside Jack, right? Like, they have Jack. Jack's the guy. Jack's the glue. It's Jack's defense, right? Figure out what's going to happen there on at the Will and the Sam. Derek Barnes obviously factors into this somehow, but I mean, just because Derek Barnes has the contract that Derek Barnes has, it doesn't mean that Derek Barnes is going to play a bunch. If one of these guys comes in and starts playing better than him, Miko, that's on the table.
Yeah, and I think this is another one of those positions, like Jeremy, you talk about this being another group that was kind of lacking. This is another group outside of like edge and tackle that I feel like a lot of people were like, hey, go out there and draft another linebacker. Like, draft another one as early as the 4th round if you can get one. And I still think with the move of signing Damone Clark, like, you still have that option. You can still go out there and make this an even bloodier room of guys that are going to be competing to see who gets to be the guy that starts next to Jack Campbell, or who starts next to Jack Campbell and Derek Barnes, right? Like, you kind of get to figure that whole thing out. The next signing that kind of happened is another one that is we probably should, at least as of right now, probably file this under the Marcus Davenport banner of types of signings when we talk about Payton Turner. I don't mean that to be as disrespectful as it's probably going to come across, but I mean, you look at the fact that both of those guys played for the New Orleans Saints. Both guys kind of never really quite had the careers that you probably expected them to have due to injuries. But the Lions are once again finding a young player that they can kind of roll the dice on, and see if there's actually any tread left on those tires. So, Jeremy, I can't say that I'm excited, but it is an interesting signing that they made.
I made the joke online, and I kind of stand by it. Like, we don't have the contract terms here, but I imagine they're somewhere close to the vet minimum, like no guarantees, incentive laden type of thing. But this felt like a Brad Holmes troll. It felt like oh, you don't think I do enough at the edge? Well, here's someone who has barely played any football because of injury, is a prototypical guy of what we like, big physical edge that probably doesn't have a ton of pass rush chops. Let me throw that at you. Are you happy now? And that all feels a little disrespectful, and it feels a little dismissive. I want to remind people that the Lions have a 90-player roster to fill. And throwing a dart on a guy who has great physical traits, who was a former first-round pick, who just hasn't had his career take off because of injury, is not a bad use of a roster spot. It's not. It's fine. It's not something that you should get excited about if he has to play. It's probably bad news. Like I said, I'm still hoping for one significant move here in the edge position, ideally before the draft, so they can play a little bit more around with what they want to do when they're on the clock. But this is a shrug your shoulder signing. Like, high upside is probably even doing it. Is I don't know, making it better than it sounds. Medium upside, almost no risk at all. So why not? Is where I'm at with that one.
Yeah, Ryan, this seems like the type of deal that you make, like you said, like Jeremy said, when you're trying to fill out the 90-man roster, if this is a dude that can come into camp and he can compete and maybe raise the floor, awesome. But if it's a guy that doesn't make the roster, you're probably not looking at, again, we don't know the contract details, but you're probably not looking at a lot of guaranteed money to this type of player.
Yeah, the availability thing is something that, like, it's a hurdle that goes all the way back to his time at Houston. Like, he missed time at Houston with injuries. He missed time in the NFL with injuries. Again, you want to compare him to Marcus Davenport, a New Orleans Saints player who was drafted way earlier than a lot of people expected that person to go off the board. Like, the Saints traded up to get Marcus Davenport. Payton Turner was a guy who had a day 2 grade for the most part and was projected to be in the second round, and they drafted him on the first round. And, I think, to Jeremy's point though, like, Matthew Betts was a thing. You guys remember Matthew Betts? Like,
yeah.
There's a lot of room there's a lot of room on the roster, and if there's a spot that you want to at least kick the tires on, it's going to be the edge position, right? I think that you leave no stone unturned.
Yeah,
that needs to be the approach, Miko.
I think a move like this though, and we said it maybe last week or maybe it was the week before when talking about, like, Brad addressing certain issues where it's like it kind of just puts a microscope on it a little bit more. Like, DJ Wonnum is like a tick in the right direction, and then you go out and sign Payton Turner. And to Jeremy's point, it's like, are you trolling or are you just like, or is this like you think that you actually see something in a player like this, which, like you said, like, he has the physical traits, being 6'6", being 270. It's a guy that you feel like, man, if he could be healthy, like, I think great RAS score, like, maybe he could put something together. But as a fan base, like, yeah, like the writing's kind of been on the wall in terms of what his career has looked like. I think as a fan, like, still go into the rest of this offseason and possibly the draft being like, hey, if you can add like 2 or 3 more guys to this room, like, that would be great.
Yeah, turn this into a bloodbath too. Why not, right? And Payton Turner can be part of that. Ahmed Hassanin can be part of that. I don't know if I am banking on any contributions from either of those players, but but like one of the I think see-through lines of all of their additions has been kind of chip on their shoulder mentality kind of guys, right? Guys that have to have something to prove out there, whether it's, they got traded last year, or they're coming back from an injury, or they got benched, or, they got jumped on the depth chart. A lot of the guys that they brought in have something to prove. And admittedly, that's like the rosy positive look on them, because the other side of it is, why'd they get jumped? You're bringing in injury-filled guys. You're bringing in guys who haven't lived up to their draft status. I get all of that too, and there's certainly a point to be made there. But a lot of these guys, I would not say Payton Turner included, have good tape out there. And so with Payton in particular, I think this is just like a complete, kicking the tires type of situation. Maybe you luck out and he performs in some way or another for you. But again, like, there's just no risk to a move like this unless the contract terms are something way different than I expected. It's a completely no risk move with maybe a medium ceiling where, might as well take a shot, because you got to take a lot of shots at that edge room right now, I think.
Yeah. Before we go into a break, I did want to talk about some of the other, free agency moves that we at least got contract details on last week. I will say, for me personally, Ryan, probably the one that was a little surprising in terms of just like in comparison to the other ones is Christian Izien getting 1 year's $2 million compared to Roger McCreary getting 1 year $1.4. I think a lot of people would have probably expected that to be flipped, or at least that Roger McCreary would be getting more money, as a lot of people think that he is more likely to be a starter. But maybe that's a glimpse into how the Lions kind of see those two players and how they probably see them being utilized on this roster.
Yeah, I think Tampa Bay really liked Izien too, though. And that's a guy who I don't think they wanted to necessarily let go, but they didn't have a spot for him to play. And maybe the contract terms, I mean, it's not like it's huge money or anything, but maybe it's at least suggesting that he's a guy who they could be expecting to play some defensive snaps early on for this team, depending on, what's going on with Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch. So, and again, like, you look at the Mercury signing, and I think you say, oh, that guy's going to be the team's nickel. I don't know. Maybe that's going to be Izzian. Who knows? Like I think you're gonna find that out in camp. But I don't know. Like I think the last thing I want to say about a lot of the signings though is that remember Nate Burleson's comments all that time ago where he said he walks in the locker room and someone says like why are you going to Detroit, man? This is where careers go to die. I don't see a lot of careers dying in Detroit these days. Like there's an Emmanuel Mosley here or there's a Marcus Davenport there, but for all those guys, there's a Roy Lopez who goes and signs a bigger deal back in Arizona, or a Fatu Melifonwu finds a place in Miami. A lot of players are leaving Detroit and signing bigger contracts elsewhere. I think things are not as bad as they seem. It's
really the opposite of back then. This is where careers go to get resuscitated. This is where people get an opportunity. They try flatlining here, and then they get
they get a second lease on life.
They do.
I mean, you talk about Carlton Davis getting a bigger deal after being in Detroit. You talk about Amik Robertson getting a bigger deal after being here in Detroit. Like, it has been a place where players can go prove themselves, prove that they can be impact players, and that has landed a couple of different players like big contracts in other locations. So it is something to kind of I think as a fan base to kind of keep minds on. Yeah.
And just because I haven't talked about McCreary at all, I don't understand. Tell me why the Lions were able to get him on a 1-year, $1.4 million deal. And use the veteran minimum salary where he's not even costing $1.3 million against cap. I don't understand why he's coming that cheap. Am I missing something? Like, this dude is a good nickel. He can play a little outside. He got traded from a Titans team where they were doing a fire sale. They were also going under a defensive change with obviously, a head coach change, all that sort of stuff. And he goes to a Super Bowl contender, plays significant snaps in the playoffs. Like, what am I missing? What's happening?
You know how running backs don't matter?
Do nickels not matter anymore?
Nickel cornerbacks are a dime a dozen.
He's 26 and a former second round pick. Brian. I don't understand this at all. He's a good player.
I'm not. Like, I agree.
Why did Brian Branch fall to the second round? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I don't know. People treat them with disrespect. Like, you can just replace one with the other.
We just watched a Seattle team with like a really good nickel defender win the Super Bowl. Have we learned nothing?
Yeah, where was he drafted? In the second round?
Second round, I think, right?
But like I do. I think it's a little bit of that, of like maybe the position not being as valued as we think that position should be valued. And then I think that it also goes back to what we were just saying though. Like, Roger McCreary saw Carlton Davis come here, ball out, get $18 million. He saw Amik Robertson come here, compete at nickel, get the opportunity to also play outside, got a big deal in Washington. It's nothing but upside for him in the sense that, like, hey, if I go there and I ball out, either Detroit's going to pay me a ton of money or somebody else is. So it's worked out for other corners that have played here. Maybe it'll work out the same way for him.
And kind of like the upside of all of this, which I don't ever want to get like too far down this road because obviously a lot can change between now and then, is like the Lions are going to pick up some compensatory picks, most likely from this free agency class. They're currently in line for a 6th and a 7th, according to Over the Cap, which is they're just basically doing estimates based on contracts. We don't have like I said, we don't have the
Payton
Turner, but I don't think that's going to play into anything. But and if the Lions can turn some of these players into really good players, they could do the same thing again next year, where maybe they're not going to be able to afford McCreary next year after he balls out this year, if he balls out this year, and play the compensatory pick game again. But that shouldn't be the Lions' main goal, but it is kind of a nice unintended consequence of this current strategy of 1-year contracts on young players that have high floors, high ceilings.
You get Izzian, who maybe Kirby Joseph has experimental knee injections and his career is revitalized, and Brian Branch is awesome back from his Achilles, and there's no room again for Christian Izzy in another defensive backfield, and he moves on. So, yeah, I'm definitely not going to say that we should be excited about the Lions playing the compensatory pick game because nobody wants to hear that at all whatsoever.
I don't either. To be clear,
Yeah.
To be clear, like an extra 6th and an extra 7th. Oh, great. But
I mean, it's more picks that you can trade up to get back into the 3rd round after Brad Holmes.
There you go.
Another.
There you go. If we get 15 6th round picks, it could be a 3rd round pick.
It's at the end of the day, though, the Lions are finding like affordable ways to at least build this roster, right? They're finding affordable ways to invest in their future. It's not ideal, Ryan. Like I can look it on your face, like that's not the way you want to be investing into your roster long term, and that's fair. But could be worse. You could be investing money into like really bad jerky. Like that would be honestly a worse use of money because when Righteous Felon is out there giving out.
You knew this was turning into an ad read.
You can get amazing quality jerky at an amazing price. Like Brad Holmes should be taking lessons from the owners at Righteous Felon on how to be able to get amazing products out at an amazing cost and amazing value. The Pride of Detroit podcast is brought to you by Righteous Felon Craft Jerky. It's the jerky that fuels the Pride of Detroit PODcast. Each 2-ounce bag of jerky has 16 to 20 grams of protein, and each stick has 8 grams. Trust me, if it's good enough for the Lions, it's going to be good enough for you too. Righteous Felon is based in Westchester, Pennsylvania. They use locally sourced, all-natural Black Angus beef and prides itself on superior quality, revolutionary branding, and unique flavors that go beyond the stereotypical jerky offering. And last week, we told you guys about Righteous Felon is also not just apparently selling meat anymore. They're selling cheese. You can now get jerky and cheese in one product. And listen, payday is next week for me. I am absolutely going to be testing this product out because I'm very curious on what this tandem looks like. I've never had jerky and cheese together. I'm about to go diving and trying to see what this is like. My wife recently got her Honey Heist order in and she has been ecstatic. She has also hidden it. So I'm going to find it and kind of get back the jerky that I lost because by my count, I'm missing a couple that I need retribution for. But you don't want to be like my whole household where you're fighting over your jerky order. You can just go over to righteousfelon.com, use the promo code POD15 at checkout, and that's going to get you 15% off your own order. And this way, if your wife wants some, she can use the same promo code and get 15% off her order. It's all good. It will save you so much headache in your household. I promise you. So again, that's promo code POD15 at righteousfelon.com. When we come back, we are going to dive into the meat and potatoes of this conversation, which is, listen, the Lions have made all of these moves, but have they actually gotten better in certain areas? And are there areas where they've actually gotten worse because of the moves that they made or the moves that they haven't made? We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more right after this.
Yo, what is up, live chat? Been a little bit. You were making that face because you anticipated that was turning into an ad read, correct?
Yeah, Miko was in that crosswalk long enough to get hit by a car that's doing like 15 miles an hour. Like I saw that from a mile away. As soon as he said affordable, I was like, I know where this is going immediately. But it's so well done.
They all
like
it's true.
It's not. They're never out of place. You know what I mean? Like you are the Nate Burleson. This is the second Nate Burleson reference, but you're the Nate Burleson of ad reads, of segues, I should say. Like I don't know if you saw Nate Burleson, but he was killing it on March Madness.
Yeah.
Was he really?
Oh, I haven't seen him on March Madness. I remember before he got some of the actual CBS sports stuff, and I was just like, Nate Burleson's gonna kill it on TV. Like,
dude, he was leading the panel of Clark Kellogg and Charles Barkley, and he was their main studio host.
It wasn't the Talking Basketball. That wasn't the lead host because that's what I saw.
Nightmare fuel.
Very much nightmare fuel. But yeah, Burleson is so talented in that role. Like in any role, honestly. Like just put him in front of the camera. He can do a kid's show. He can do world news. He can do apparently NCAA panel talk.
Yeah, I mean,
it's incredible.
Michael Strahan crawled so that Nate Burleson could fly.
Seriously. Who's Ross Tucker? I challenge Ross Tucker to a segue read.
Ross Tucker, friend of the show, Ross Tucker.
Did someone mention Ross Tucker?
Yeah.
Oh, I said. What was he hawking when he was on our pod? It was some, and I forgot about that.
Such a mean verb.
I'm sorry.
But he definitely was. He sent it to me. Oh man, I forget what it was called, but it was essentially like to get kids introduced to the game of football.
That's right.
And like learning the rules.
Yeah.
Of
I
football.
don't know if that's what Ty is specifically referencing. Maybe it's just Ross's general show, which I watch every now and then, but not enough to know if his ad read transition is good. But I do remember that one specifically, and it felt like we didn't handle that one the best in terms of like the transition to like, okay, you're here to promote this.
Yeah. It's like, I thought you just wanted to be on the show to talk about the upcoming NFC divisional round game between the Lions and Commanders.
Was it the Commanders podcast? We've had him on a couple times, haven't we? Or was it that one specifically?
I think it may have just been that one.
Because
remember how much you wanted to talk about Alex Anzalone? You wanted to talk about Alex Anzalone for the entire podcast.
Sorry, because they're buddies.
Because they're buddies, and he had just come back for the Week 18 game. And
right. And we're like, hey,
he's like, did you know we actually all went to the same high school?
This is like a really big game. Can we talk about the game and not Alex Anzalone?
But do you want to talk about Taylor Swift? She also went to our high school.
That's right.
She's from like the same hometown.
See, you're missing all this content if you're not a Pride of Detroit Direct subscriber. Just an epic. If you guys want to go back to that really fun 2024 season and listen to our Lions Washington preview.
Ross Tucker, great guy though. Like
he is a
real
great
nice
guy. And he was super excited that year too. He was like, man, I really hope I get to watch and cover this Lions team against the Eagles in the NFC Championship game.
Wah, wah.
Yeah. Anyways.
Also PODD update real quick. I had not even one of my students, a random freshman in the high school who I was sitting in and subbing for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, my dad watches you like all the time. I was like, what?
Yep.
Huh?
Nope. That's not the correct phrasing.
He's like, you do that podcast thing, right? And I was like, yeah. Yeah. He goes, oh yeah, I listen to you all the time. I was like, oh, okay.
That's not what you said.
And he goes, how many podcasts do you do a week? And I was like, I do generally 2, because there'll be one for like, I was like, how do I explain this? I was like, well, we have like a subscription. He's like, yeah, PODD. I was like, oh, okay. I'm going to go to the bathroom.
Hey,
so breathe into a paper bag.
Just be lucky. You know, in 5-10 years, it's going to be like, oh yeah, my grandpa watches you.
I think the funniest one for me was a girl that I had in like student ministry at church. Her boyfriend like watches us, and so she was like, oh yeah, she was like I think it was like my first time meeting him too, I want to say. And she was like, oh yeah, she's like, he watches you on YouTube. And I was like, what's up, man?
I ran into a fan this past weekend, which
on the boat?
No. I was back from the boat on Thursday.
Oh, okay. I was like, on the cruise, it was like
that would be terrifying.
No. I didn't.
Jeremy?
I did see a couple people
from the Reisman recording room.
Like in the buffet line, like as you're picking up a slice of pizza.
Snow crab on his plate.
There were a couple people in line.
Sees you like reaching for a mozzarella stick, so you do like mozzarella sticks.
No, don't. You can't tell anybody. I had a rare night drinking on Saturday. Saturday? When was the Wings game?
Saturday night. Yep.
Yeah. Our good friend Alex Reno peer pressured me into a night of drinking that I thought was just going to be like, hey, let's go watch the Red Wings game at a bar. So that was my first drunk encounter with a fan.
But
It was
you can
relatively
blame-
short.
You can blame the wings though for
True.
why you drank.
Actually, if they would have performed better, it would have been worse because we were doing shots every time they scored. Thankfully, it was only twice. I think it was a really short interaction, and I hope that as we were crossing paths, he was leaving because I did 2 drunk karaoke sessions that night.
What'd you sing?
One, well, one's my go-to, which is, do you know my go-to?
You've told me before, and
That's okay. Ballroom Blitz by Sweet,
that's right.
as made famous by Wayne's World.
Mhm.
The other one was, there was 4 of us up there. I think we called ourselves the Nickelback Boys, and so we sang a Nickelback song. I don't remember which one it was.
If anybody was at this karaoke bar and has video of Jeremy doing this, upload it immediately.
Oh, I have video of it, and you guys are not seeing it.
Oh man.
The weirdest part about that night is because I still have this like cruise ship condition. Like for the first few drinks, I'm like, am I drunk or am I just still off kilter? Like,
And then everything was upside down. You're like, oh, okay, no, this is
yeah.
drunk.
Oh, now I remember what this feels like.
Golly.
Anyways, I don't get drunk very often, so I felt like telling that story. And shout out to I asked your name. I apologize. I don't remember it. Shout out to that POD fan though.
Shout out.
All right, let's get through some alerts and then we'll chat about stuff. Yeah, I don't know if that's. I don't think that video is up for Movember or anything, but good try. I also did karaoke on the Disney cruise, and there is video of that while I'm dressed up as a pirate. But you're not going to see that either.
Somebody.
Oh no, we got to see that one.
Nope, absolutely not.
Somebody get into Jeremy's iCloud account.
Hack my shit. Try. Don't do that, please.
I was gonna say. People get
like
hacked
real
every day now, bro. Like,
Real tough from a guy who had to go to Micro Center.
Hey, not as many problems with the stream since. Still some, but not as many.
I'm just saying, man.
Yep.
There's plenty of people on the beat that have gotten hacked. I don't think you want to be the next one.
That's true.
Before the end of this podcast, if I get a DM from Jeremy, hey, vote on me for this, I'll be like, oh, you're screwed. They got you.
All right, let me get to some alerts here. I wish I was at the Miami Open. I went last year. It was great. Skip, think of 40 months in a row, 53 total, and that's a tier 1. That is not just using your Amazon Prime, so I appreciate that, Skip. Amber Atkins, thank you for the 2 months subscribed. Says, I needed this. Hey, hopefully this is scratching that itch so far. Thomas J. Hutchins, 36 months is 3 years and several more before I figured out how to subscribe. Thanks for the increasingly good times. Hey, appreciate that. I thought we were just kind of plateauing, but if the times are getting increasingly better, that's good to hear. AP Durag, 24 months subscribed to the channel, says, do you think that Reed Blankenship was a good sign? I feel like the Lions should have gotten him. Where did he go and how much? I don't remember.
I feel like he got big money, didn't he?
Did he?
Or like more
Blankenship.
money than somebody
Oh, he
would
did.
expect.
3 years, 24 and a half. 24 and 3/4.
Yeah.
If that were to happen though, you would be like, uh-oh, what's wrong with Kirby?
True.
What's wrong with Brian?
Yeah. I'm looking at it. Kind of serves as a 2-year, $16.5 million deal. It's a big. I mean, that would have been essentially their biggest free agent signing. I mean, a little bit more than Cade Mays.
Yeah, and I probably would have panicked.
Yeah.
Not even joking. I probably would have freaked out. But like, so Kirby's done?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. I don't know if we Should have said this too, though. Like Izzy like if he plays really well, if there is a problem with Branch or if there is a problem with Kirby, it's like, okay, well, we can re-sign you. You know?
True.
I mean, they've had 3 safety looks before.
Sure. And I wonder where this just leaves things with Avonte Maddox too.
Yeah, I'd still like to see him come back, to be honest. I'd like a little bit of additional depth in that room. I mean, it's not empty. You know, you got Branch, Joseph Harper, Izzy, Dan Jackson, Lauren Strickland. And then, you know, even maybe, I don't know. I was going to say maybe McCreary can play a little safety since he's got some.
I was going to say maybe Rock
too. Yeah, that's a good point.
But it was just kind of strange how like Rock was an early like re-signing and like just we've seen like other players get signed and like it's like, well, is that it for Maddox? We're done with that?
Yeah, it's so
is Avonte
like,
kind of up there though in like age? Isn't he like in his 30s?
I thought he's like surprisingly young. I don't think he's 30 yet. He's 29. He turns 30 at the end of the month.
Never mind.
Okay, he turns 30 next week. So
there you go.
You're not.
No, I just like. No, but I thought he was like 31 already. Like I thought, like maybe in that situation, it's one of those like they're giving him space to contemplate what he wants to do with his future. Type of
Too young, too old for these Lions.
I
mean, these Lions, yeah.
I would like to learn more about the process of like actually getting free agency done, because I wonder if sometimes we put too much into like the order in which players are getting signed. Like the fact that Turner is signed is like, why are we concerning ourselves with signing this guy when there's, you know, these veteran edges? And with like some of the veteran edges, it's like, okay, yeah, Joey Bosa can decide when he, like, maybe he wants to skip OTAs and he's going to sign after OTAs. No one would blame him for that. Makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
But like when they go out there and, you know, they re-sign this guy or they sign this guy, is that just a matter of like convenience? Like, oh, we were able to get the deal done. This was just one of the guys that we were planning on targeting. Not necessarily a priority over someone we signed a couple days later, just a matter of like we were able to get it done, or he was able to fly in and sign his contract where, you know, this guy he's with his kids for a week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just something that I always think about is like the order in which we hear that sort of stuff. Is there any relevance to it or not? Like, do they have a deal in place with someone like Avonte Maddox? He's just on vacation for a couple of weeks. Maybe.
I mean, there's also, I think we kind of, and I say we, I mean like the collective fan base, I think we forget that like players have options too. Like, so it's not always as cut and dry as like, oh, we want you back. Well, I want to see what my market looks like.
Right.
Sure.
Yep.
Well, and if you if you do agree to a deal now and the draft plays out the way it does, now all of a sudden you might be a camp body and or you might be a guy who's like fighting for a spot and you're going to have to just do this process all over again. But in August, right? Like you're going to have to land on your feet somewhere else where you may pack up your entire life, move to Detroit, and it's like, okay, we don't need you. It's like, okay, who will take me?
Well, and I think that's why, like we said it last week, like that's why we don't really expect many of these veteran edges to probably sign anywhere until after the draft. Like it's starting to kind of wind down. You have guys like Payton Turner, where, you know, guys who haven't really probably panned out anywhere. Then you have guys that have been in the league for a while. None of them need to be in a rush to sign anywhere. They're all going to be commodities after the draft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
there's a lot of really interesting names still out there, like big names, not necessarily good names, but like I know Tyreek Hill's going through the injury. Debo's out there. Stephon Diggs is out there. Decker's out there.
Yeah, I feel like Stephon Diggs is probably going to, like, people might wait on that one for a minute. Doesn't he have like a lawsuit or something pending?
Oh, maybe. I don't even know. Obviously, you got Bosa. Why did? Oh, because I was combining it with. Is Hassan Reddick really not signed? I thought he signed somewhere. No.
No, he's not.
He's still
No,
out there.
I remember seeing that last week.
That's
But again, that's like another
that's
veteran
a guy
that
that
might.
everybody wanted to trade for.
Man,
Zeitler's still out there.
Taylor Decker's still
Zeitler?
out there.
Yeah.
It's the curious case of Taylor Decker, man. I'm just really excited to see how this all plays out.
If I had to guess, and I always want to make clear when I'm making guesses, predictions, this is not an inside source situation. I think he's going to.
That doesn't matter, though. We'll cut that part out of the quote out. So say it again, though.
Yeah.
All right, clean cut. Taylor Decker is going to retire.
Oh, say it again. I was getting my phone out.
No, I do think that's probably I'm not necessarily most likely. It's just like the feeling that I get, and it's not gonna look great from his perspective, and it's not what he wants. But I don't think Taylor Decker would take a job where he would have to compete for a starting job. I think he wants to go somewhere where he's going to play, and I don't know if that job's available anymore. Not that there's an abundance of starting left tackles out there on every team, but I think people might not be willing to take the risk that he provides. And how much of a pay cut is he going to be willing to take when he wasn't willing to take one here? Because he's not going to get the whatever $14.9 million salary he was due here.
Well, I think we said it last week. Once the Rasheed Walker contract kind of dropped, it's one needs to be that's Taylor Decker's market. That's your mark. You short of someone losing a left tackle, in OTAs or something crazy, that's probably your value. I don't know. Did the Rams ever figure out their left tackle situation? Because I feel like that was the number one team that people were like, oh, Taylor Decker might go play for the Rams, but I can't remember what their left tackle situation was like.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, I don't think we kind of agreed on this last week. No one's probably paying him 14. You might be able to find a desperate team before the season that's willing to pay you 8, maybe.
Yeah.
But at that point in time, do you really want to stay in shape that entire time just to get brought in a couple weeks before the season, have to learn a new playbook?
Right.
Or would you just rather ride off into the sunset?
Does his ego enough to take a $6 million pay cut like that, when you have to imagine that's probably somewhere around where the Lions were looking, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's why I kind of alluded to it last week, where it's just if he's going to take a pay cut somewhere, why not just come back here and take a pay cut? Why? But honestly, it.
What looks worse? Re-signing with the team you refuse to take a pay cut with, basically on a pay cut, or unretiring and then retiring a month later?
The pay cut, for sure.
Yeah, the pay cut thing. Yeah.
Probably.
Well, so I think the other part of it, too, we can cross off the Baltimore Ravens. He wouldn't pass a physical with the Baltimore Ravens. I think we know that. But, legitimately speaking,
they found a cheaper option.
His shoulder could be in such bad shape that there might be teams who, if they take a look at him and they're like, you probably can't trust that this guy is going to be a starter from week to week, right? Mm-hmm. Or you kind of have those expectations, and maybe a team who might be interested in signing him is like, might as well just draft a guy, right? Or go a different route. And I think for Decker, that guy who was talking at his locker during cleanout doesn't seem like a guy who's going to play football for anything less than what he feels he's worth.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yep.
I think that's the realest part of it, is that guy's not going to pay. He's not going to play for less.
Yeah.
Because he'll just retire instead.
Right.
Yeah.
Instead of putting his family second. Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fun little backstory real quick. So the Lions had a press conference today, but they didn't tell us who it was. They said player to be announced at a certain time, and it kept getting closer and closer to that time, and they hadn't announced any move or anything. And we were just, Eric and I were like, who is this going to be? Are they why?
Is it going to be Taylor Decker?
What if I'm are they just not announcing it because it's going to look weird, and they're just going to announce 1 second before the Zoom starts and say, "Hey, Taylor Decker's
Marcus
back."
Davenport.
And then None of us ever even considered. It was just like, oh right, the Teddy Bridgewater signing isn't official yet. It's Teddy Bridgewater. But yeah, I let my mind run wild for 24 hours while I was just like, could it be a big signing?
That would have been the funniest thing of like like the announcement starts, it's Marcus Davenport, and the next news that breaks, it's like Brad Holmes seen leaving from Metro Detroit Airport, just like fleeing the scene.
It's just, I'm going to a pro day.
Yeah. Say you can't flee the scene at the airport these days. You're gonna be there for a while.
I got lucky. I was at a small airport. So.
I saw those videos of Atlanta, and I was like,
I've never been happier that we I mean, it's a weird flex, but I'm so glad we drive to Florida every year. Like, I don't have to worry about it.
oh gosh, that's just a drive I did once, and I said I'm doing it once.
Oh, the drive down is always fun. Driving back with COVID is the worst thing, and I wouldn't recommend it for anybody.
With COVID?
With a car full of people with COVID is like the worst.
The COVID mobile for 36 hours? That sounds real fun.
Oh, man.
All right, let me get through the rest of these alerts. I feel like we have not touched on a lot. And there's a lot because it's 2 weeks worth, essentially. Where were we? We got AP Durag. That's where we got in the Reed Blankenship conversation. John Johnson, 52, 18 months, says it's my Tesla anniversary. Over under TDs for him this season.
6.
I was going to say 6.5.
I was going to say 4.
So 5? 5.5?
5.5.
5.5, yeah.
And I guess Ryan and I are taking the over and more. I almost called you Morgan. No.
I've been told we look alike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your name's literally on the screen for me.
I'm not joking. We have literally been told on YouTube that we look alike. I don't know why. We look. So what's it? We look like the inverse of each other.
If you just what setting
you
do you have
just
to flip
the pigments?
Just the black and white.
The
setting.
contrast. You just change the contrast in the complete opposite direction.
Oh man.
Jason Arnick, thank you for the 14 months. His Amon-Ra anniversary. JC, 28 months. Lions legend Adrian Peterson anniversary. Sure, why not? Dan Pask, 57 months, says glad to be part of a winning organization. Eat more Marmite, Jeremy. Chicken finger pitas, Ryan. And fight your wife to protect your jerky, Miko. Cheers and go Lions.
I was wondering where the fight your wife thing was going. I was like, what?
I've done a good job of staying from behind prison bars. I'd like to keep it that way.
Yeah. Full Tyreek Hill heel turn from Miko this offseason, please.
Allegedly.
Now if we move to Florida, it's on the table because everything's
Florida man. Yeah.
Yeah.
We learned that one the hard way right around combine time, didn't we?
We did.
We did. Baller Emilio, 34 months subscribed on Twitch. Appreciate you. The Skillful, thank you for subscribing on YouTube. Krolik, 58 months on Twitch, says, welcome back, Jeremy. Mock Draft Monday? Nope, still March. Lamont's Builder, 34 months on Twitch. Appreciate you. G-Man, 16 months, says 16 months of U of M in the Sweet 16. Go Blue. Hey, congrats to both Michigan teams. And screw you, Florida, for ruining my bracket. That I spent 5 minutes filling out. And I thought I was being clever. I'm like, all the people I'm in this pool with are going to pick Michigan, so let me go pick a different team so I can win. Florida.
Did you pick Florida?
I sure did. And also 3 other people picked Florida out of 10, so I wasn't even being original. Oops.
Yeah, I didn't know about Iowa, so real quick, but like Iowa and like their entire team is basically just Drake from the year before because their coach is at Iowa now. And because it's, the year or, the era of the transfer portal, like it's just basically the Drake team from last year is just in Iowa now. And they were all the mid-major darling that everybody was like, oh, Drake's a team to look out for. They could, upset.
When you said
That was a
Drake,
competitive
that
game,
is
though. I was
not
like
what
watching
thought
that
you
at the
were saying.
gym.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the Canadian Drake. I'm like, what? What do you mean they're all from Drake? It's the Drake team? What does that mean?
They're all just little Drake stands. They're such big fans of Hotline Bling. And they all decided to go to Iowa to play hoops together.
Marty Too Hottie, 53 months, Mo Cider months. Let's go Red Wings.
Dead to me, dude.
Marty, not the greatest timing. Since
Oh, yeah. Is that an old alert?
Hey, but, Larkin might be back soon. Playoff push, please. Please.
It's over, dude. It's
Stop
dead.
it. No,
Can I ask the question? I just want to ask the question out loud, and then you can go on with alerts. But like, in what other major North American sport does a GM get 8 years without any playoff appearances, and he gets to keep his job?
It takes longer time to rebuild in the NHL.
It's hockey, yeah. Like it doesn't work the same way.
The easy answer was the Lions pre-Sheila Ford. That was the easy answer. It was Matt Millen.
That's not even. How many years?
How long did Millen have his job? Had have been for a while, right?
I think it was like 5 or 6. I don't think it was that long.
It seemed a lot longer than that.
It sure did. Maybe it was.
2001 to 2008.
It was 8 years. It was just short of 8 years.
The jokes write themselves.
By the way, I like when you look at his Wikipedia page, right under the amount of time that he's been, like in the right column where it says how long he's been there, it says 4-time Super Bowl champion. Like, oh, wow, he must have been a real great GM. Oh, as a player. Ooh.
As a player.
Ryan
Dude,
hates
I opened
19?
up his Wikipedia.
Why do you hate Steve Eisenman?
19. Because he's not doing anything for me right now. During the early part of Millen's tenure, from 2001 to 2003, the Lions failed to win a road game for 3 years.
And I was there when they finally.
Oh yeah,
won.
I remember when that was like an actual accomplishment. When they were like, "Hey, they finally won a road game."
Yeah, it was in Tampa, and then they won the next week in Miami. Yeah, I think I have the order of that right. Yeah, I went to both games.
So bad.
Yeah, that was rough. Remember when winning at Lambeau was like impossible?
Yes.
Lamborghini Field? Yeah.
Oh, shout out Darius Slay.
I know,
Happy
right?
retirement,
That's why I wanted
buddy.
to bring it up. Yeah.
Oh yeah. We never got the last hurrah. I just
It's only
wanted
a one-day
one
contract,
season
man.
of Slay
What are we
in
doing?
Detroit.
We don't have enough cap room for a one-day contract? This is what people really need to get mad about. Bring your pitchforks out. Why aren't we signing Darius Slay to a one-year deal?
Do you think
One day
he
deal.
hates
Will
the
you
Lions?
actually be upset? Will you be upset if he retires an Eagle?
Yeah.
He won a Super Bowl there. I'm not miffed by it.
It was like he was only there for 3 years,
Yeah,
4
I'd
years? No,
be
he was there for
upset.
longer. No, I'm still mad.
I'd be
I was gonna
upset though.
I was gonna say did he get a big contract from them?
He was there 5 years. Let me see.
I feel like they signed him to a contract at one point.
I think they may have signed him an extension when they traded for him. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Signed
they
him to a
don't
3-year,
cut
$42 million deal.
I'm sorry.
Well, didn't Pittsburgh claimed him and he said I don't play for Pittsburgh.
No, I mean like there was the year where I think they were like
Or
he had like a
Buffalo.
really
It was
big
the
cap
Bills.
number.
It was the Bills.
Yeah, that was the Bills. But he had another year where like the Eagles were going to cut him, I think. It was like before the league year started, and then like they came back a couple days later and they're like, oh, okay, we've come to a restructure.
Yeah, I remember that. Yep. Because they had another cornerback who was up for a contract and it was like they're gonna have to choose one or the other.
Was it James Bradbury?
Yes.
Yeah.
Look at you guys. All right, back to alerts here. Junk Trunk, thank you for the 43 months as FTB and their fans media. Okay. Not sure what prompted that, but okay. I'll take it. Captain James Kirk, 1 bit. I'll read it anyways. This week's PODcast is sponsored by Upside. Get cash for your purchases. Okay. Watch yourself, Captain James Kirk. I normally don't read 1 bit alerts.
So we're soliciting things now, huh? We're doing basically free ad reads.
We need to get in there. I saw that.
I mean, we can just like take all of my ad reads and just start shipping them to companies. Like, hey.
I saw that.
Exactly.
They'll be creative.
Who's the pass rusher that went to Green Bay this offseason? Why am I blanking?
This offseason?
Pass rusher? Who they signed?
They signed someone. Mm-hmm. Packers, or did they trade for someone? Who am I thinking?
Micah Parsons.
No. Someone that they had. Maybe it wasn't a pass rusher. I thought it was. Culver's reached out to them. I'm like, what? I want Culver's to reach out for us. Oh, I think it was Zaire Alexander. The Zaire Franklin.
Oh, the linebacker.
Franklin.
Not Parsons. Not. Yeah, I think it was Zaire Franklin.
I would crush a Culver's read.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like Culver's. Oh, this is why I didn't realize. So I'll just show this to our stream. He did a jersey swap thing where it's like clip art, and he's holding Culver's in his hand.
Is that all it takes? We just got to do clip art of us in
apparently
like brands.
Yeah, and then I think Culver reached out. Yeah, Culver's reached out. Hi there, Zaire. We love this post. Could you please private message us with your sweatshirt size and mailing address so we can send you a sweet surprise? Jealous.
I hear, like, he's a millionaire. You don't need to send him free stuff.
Right. Send us the free stuff. And we have Culver's here. Did they originate in Wisconsin? Is that why it's a thing?
Yeah.
Probably, yeah. Cheese curds. So, makes sense. Miko, you should not have to pay for the new meat and cheese
True.
offering from Righteous Felon. That should just be shipped to you.
It should be called the Miko.
I feel like
because it's a segue.
A piece of meat.
Because you
Well, there goes our shot. Never mind.
All right. Yep. Miko just milkshake ducked himself.
Concrete ducked himself.
Oh, I get it, Culver.
Yeah.
I get it.
Uh-huh. God, I want some Culvers right now.
No.
All right. Let's get through these alerts. I'm struggling. Phenoms Wow 27 months says it's weird. It's that weird time between peak free agency and the draft where almost nothing happens, but we're going to draw an infinite amount of conclusions about the team's future. Yeah. And most of them don't seem very positive right now, from what I can tell. Until we talk in the next segment, that is. Where Ryan can stop fighting radio hosts and speak on his own platform.
Goodness gracious. It was a super civil discussion.
It was. In general, I find conversations with him to be relatively civil, which is appreciated.
All the time, yeah. I feel like unless you're a jerk to him, he's not a jerk back to you.
Yeah. I don't really think I've ever seen him be a jerk. I might not agree with his takes, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Anyways, Jed and Savannah, 20 months, says, I'm worried that this is not enough and we don't have the draft picks to make it be enough. That is a conversation we're about to have. So hopefully well, I don't know if we're going to change your mind. I'm not sure if that's even our goal to change your mind. We're just going to offer our opinions. We're not trying to change your mind. Just offer takes and information, and you draw your own conclusions.
We are but vessels
Sure.
to just bring you the information that you need to make your decision with.
Yeah. Shake Shack's good too. Blitzing Lion, $2 super chat on YouTube says, "What if Ruben Bain falls to 17?" I think then you take Ruben Bain.
Then you kick whoever's in front of the phone, and you call in Ruben Bain.
Or you trade down. Someone that's willing to pay an exorbitant price.
You
Probably the
mute
Minnesota
Jeremy's
Vikings.
mic somehow, and then you draft Ruben Bain.
I was gonna say, if that happens, I want an anime style recreation of Brad Holmes slapping the desk, the table that he will when Ruben Bain is there at 17, just like a, just all the way up here down, smash
Just through the table.
through the table, through the floor, like pretty much like to the center of the earth. I think
And then
that
If it's
table
animated,
slap
like
would go.
maybe have like a Bills fan jump in right at the end, and he just like fist. Hold on. Hold on. Puts him through the table.
Yes, puts him through the table.
That's the verb I was looking for the entire time.
Puts.
Righteous Felon, please continue to sponsor us.
Trying to gain sponsorships and we're losing them.
Karen, 43 months, says, "Release the Ballroom Blitz files." Absolutely not.
Yeah, redacted in Jeremy's phone.
Ballroom Blitz files is wild.
Yeah, Detroit, 79 months. 70 freaking 9 months. Appreciate that. Yeah, Detroit. Thanks for the however many years of support that is at this point. 6.5.
How many is there? Who is number 79 for the Lions? You know? Quick.
No, I don't know.
Oh, shoot.
Nobody?
I thought it was Tyler Lacey, but he's 78.
Nobody.
I don't know.
I guess nobody.
I don't think anyone does. Is it Levi? Didn't Levi used to have 79?
Guys, I've done karaoke on stream. It's not even that interesting. I mean, maybe me in a pirate outfit doing karaoke is interesting to you, but
Yes, you in a pirate outfit or you drunk are not. It's not the same. Like
nah.
it's a different level of entertainment.
Nah. Me doing
Levi
karaoke
was.
it's the same
Oh, go ahead.
no matter what mental state I'm in. I'm crushing it either way.
Oh gosh. Okay.
That's how I know the drunken version is better. That's how I just know. The fact that you said that with your whole chest.
Levi was 75 as a rookie, and then he was 91, and then he gave it up for Tyleek. And then he's 78 now, but Tyler Lacey was 78. But Tyler Lacey's gone, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Maybe.
No.
I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
No.
Was he the one that they brought back or he the one that they let go? No, he's back.
He's back?
He's back. I was thinking
Oh,
of
man. They're going to have to figure out what's going on with that number.
Tyler Lacey and Tyra Sweet are the same person in my brain sometimes.
Tyra Sweet, yes. That's number 79, though, I think is probably honorably like retired by the Lions. Last player to wear it, I think, was John
John Kaminsky. Nice. Duckline 37 months says 37 months on my 37th year. There's a lot to be thankful for. Got another Lions fan coming in 6 weeks. Hey, when my first son was born in 2023. The Lions went on a pretty terrific run, so I'm hoping for a repeat. LFG. Hey, good luck with everything, Duck Lion, and thanks for the 37 months. I am out of my element right now. Dude Bottom, 6 months. Says, do we know the opponent in Germany yet? No, we do not. And Dark Wizard.
Words moving like the waves, Jeremy.
Maybe.
Is that it?
Is that what it is? Dark Wizard 38 months says 4.2 Twitch babies. Let's go. 4.20.
420.
Is that it?
That is it.
Do we have more?
No, we're done. We're done. We're caught up. Did you have something else you wanted to talk about?
No, I'm just putting reviews in for us to read at the end of the show.
Oh, are there some? I haven't looked.
Yeah, there's 2.
Nice. Pull those up as well.
They are in the rundown.
Oh, you threw them in there. Look at you.
Yeah.
not
Freaking,
having.
these are massive. What the heck?
They're not in there yet.
What?
You lied.
What the heck? They are. They're just on the second page because they're so big.
Oh, yes, they are. Oh,
Yeah.
one of those is at least a familiar name in our live chat. Nice. Cool. Do we want to just jump in, or is there anything else we need to take care of before we get back into the show? Sounds like no. All right. We can get back into the show.
And welcome back to the Pride of Detroit PODcast. In segment 2 here, we are going to be answering probably one of the biggest questions, or a couple of the biggest questions that I think fans have after these first couple waves of free agency, which is ultimately, Jeremy, like, has the team actually gotten better? You've signed a bunch of players. Some of them are familiar names that people know. You've at least addressed areas of need. But is it fair to say that the team has actually gotten better at this point in the offseason?
Nope. They're not. They're not better. But, and I think I mentioned this last time I was on the podcast, and people aren't going to like this, but I think the goal when you have as good of a roster as the Lions do, it's to not regress too much in the offseason. That is kind of the goal, is don't get too worse. I was going to do an article like this, but Justin Rogers beat me to it. He looked at I think the top 6 or 7 contending teams and looked at what they've done this free agency, what they've done this offseason. And a lot of them are just doing what the Lions are doing, which is like scrapping to find ways to not fall back too much. Because when you have an expensive core, in a lot of ways, that's all you can do. Now, you can, there are other approaches, don't get me wrong. You can try to go all in. The Rams are kind of the one counter example amongst the group of like, yeah, they went all in. They traded for corners. They clearly went heavy at a position of need, spent draft capital, spent free agency money. But you can understand their position a little bit more because they've got a quarterback that's on the last leg of his career. And so, but you look at teams like the Eagles, you look at teams like the Packers, you look at teams like the Bears. He was specifically looking at NFC contenders, but I'm certain there are other examples out there. Like Denver, I know didn't do a lot in free agency. I know they just made a big trade, but in general, when you're really good and you have a really good young roster that you're paying a lot of money, your goal in free agency is, hey, let's not get too worse. Let's continue to pay the guys that we want to pay, and try to find those diamond in the roughs in free agency and not overspend. And I feel like there's a little bit of recency bias with Lions fans thinking like, this is a terrible strategy because we went 9-8 last year. But the strategy worked the previous 2 years, right? They did go 15-2 the year before that. They did make it to the NFC Championship before that. And it's through this strategy of not overspending in free agency and investing in the draft, drafting, developing, all that stuff. Again, I'm not saying that's the only way to build a team, and the Lions could have certainly made other moves that would have made sense, but the route that they've gone has shown to be successful. And if your response to that is, well, I don't see a Super Bowl ring, my response is like, I'm sorry that everything didn't line up in the 3 years in which they've been in their Super Bowl window. It doesn't for most teams that are in a Super Bowl window. It doesn't for most teams that have a Super Bowl contending roster. And I believe the Lions still do, but they took a step back in the past month. They have. They're a worse team, and that's okay. I don't think they've fallen out of Super Bowl contention, but it's not as good as it was before.
Brian, do you share that same sentiment? I mean, I think the thing that like I know I buck at, or at least I tense up at, is like the idea of like, oh, well, they've regressed and it's okay. And it's like, is it okay that they've maybe taken a step back?
I think we've talked about the aspect of what's the opportunity cost for the Detroit Lions so far through free agency, right? We talked about the Linderbaum contract being massive. We talked about some of the other things that other teams did where it's like, I wouldn't have paid Jalen Phillips all that money that Carolina paid. Funny enough, we get the player that Carolina was willing to move on from, and they get Jalen Phillips. But yeah, I think you look at what some other teams around the league did, and Jeremy mentioned that piece that Justin had done where he kind of looked around at the other top contending teams. You even hear wild things like, I think it was Daniel Jeremiah who went on Rich Eisen, who's like, don't rule out the Rams from moving up for Jeremiah Love. It's like, what? Like, the Rams are just willing to throw stuff at the wall, and they're willing to get aggressive like this, but like there were a couple seasons after that Super Bowl where like the Rams had to, I mean, their ship was taking on so much water they had to throw parts out, right? Like they had to figure out how to be a great football team in a post Aaron Donald world for them, and they ended up hitting on draft picks, right? So it's like the Lions probably wouldn't be in the spot that they're in if the 24 and 25 draft class is what it has been so far, right? We're not completely writing it off, but like I think that's a big part of just successful team building from year to year. We've talked about it ad nauseum about how important it is to draft well, and they just haven't drafted that great up to this point yet, right? Like there's still room for that for development for some of those players from those draft classes. You hope that you're going to get more from those guys and have them be top tier contributors, whether it's Terrion or whether it's Tyleek, right? To Slaw. There are a lot of players who you're hoping take that jump this year. Yeah. And I think that's just as important as what's happening or not happening in free agency. And if everybody wants to continue to poke fun at Brad Holmes at being a glorified GM, that he's really just a scout in a GM suit, well, okay, then we're getting to the part of the offseason where it is time to watch Brad do what he has, for the most part, done a very good job at. And it's draft.
No, and I think that's fair. So when you guys look at the moves that have been made so far, even with us, I guess in a sense, like all agree that maybe they're not as good as they were last year, or definitely not as good as they were probably in previous years. Where do you think that they've improved the most as of right now, Jeremy?
Tight end.
Answer. I think the answer is center. I think getting Cade Mays, and I know that Jeremy isn't totally sold on it yet, but I do think that Cade is going to be he's going to be a significant upgrade in the sense that it also keeps Tate Ratledge at right guard. Like that's a really awesome thing that's happening for Tate going into year 2, is that he doesn't have to be displaced. If Cade plays above average football at the center position, Jeremy, if he's like a 16 to 12 top graded rank center, whatever.
Yeah.
You feel pretty good about the Detroit Lions right side of their offensive line from pivot to right. You know what I mean? Like, and that's something that I think last year it was hard to point at something along the offensive line other than Penei Sewell be like, wow, this is all great over here. This is awesome.
There's at least like a resemblance of a solution on the offensive line in general, right? Where last year it was a lot of like, okay, you lost Zeitler and you lost Frank. I guess these pieces might work together. Now, you're right in that I'm not as high on the Cade Mays signing, and I view it more lateral than like clear improvement. But he's a young player. He's still new to the position. There's still a lot of growing to do. There's still a lot of potential there, and I'm still very eager to talk to some Panthers fans that I know were actually very high on him and thought the Lions got a steal. So, willing to change my opinion there. The problem is left tackle is still, to me, not where it needs to be. I'm not a huge fan of Warm. I want to go back and watch a little bit more tape on him to see if my opinion will change, because, as I think I said before, my opinion is very much being swayed by joint practices last year, where he was just getting worked by Aiden Hutchinson a lot. But like the PFF grades were good in his, the 11 starts that he made last year. So
maybe that was iron sharpening iron, and he got better from it.
Maybe.
And he wanted to come back here. He's like, here's how I'm going to get a 4-year, $110 million deal.
Right. But other than that situation, I think the only one you can say there was a clear upgrade is honestly the tight end room, right? Like I think the Conklin signing was savvy. It was cheap. It raises the level of your tight end 3. Not to mention, I think he can challenge for a tight end 2 spot as well. The depth is better in that room, which was necessary last year, unfortunately. But and you can say that doesn't matter that much, and maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong, depending on how Petzing approaches the tight end looks. I don't think we're going to see a ton of 13 personnel, but I feel a little bit better about more 12 personnel with Conklin on the team. I think if we're talking about improvement, and Ryan kind of alluded to this, I think the improvement that you're hoping to see from last year to this year is with your coaching staff. You're hoping Petzing is a better fit. You're hoping Calvin Shepard takes a year 2 jump. I think you're hopeful for your rookie players, which is what Ryan mentioned. Not just the guys that he mentioned, but the rookies that you get this year. All that is going to go into that as well. And then the other things, the year-to-year changes in terms of you hope injury luck is a little bit better from being a historically injured defense to maybe just being an average injured defense. You hope the schedule is a little bit nicer as it currently looks. That's the way I think this team is going to become a playoff division winner, Super Bowl contender, not necessarily by the moves they've made in the past 2 weeks.
Could I sell you guys on the possibility that the secondary, specifically the corner room, did get better? I know that you lose Amik Robertson, so you lose a guy that was obviously like a shoe-in as your starter, or at least someone that was competing with Ennis for the starting spot at the nickel spot. But you did go out there, you did go get Roger McCreary, which, Jeremy, you were talking about, like, not quite understanding like how they were able to get him on such a cheap deal, a guy that is a quality corner, someone that very well could be in line to be the starting nickel, or at least compete heavily for the starting nickel. You add a versatile defensive back and Christian Izien. You're able to retain Rock Ya-Sin and kind of still have a quality veteran that can kind of back up either Terrion or DJ Reed. And then like the other stuff that, as far as questions about the secondary, like is stuff that we already knew. It's not like you're having new information. You're still going to be wondering, what type of health Brian Branch or Kirby Joseph is going to be coming back in. You'll be wondering what type of condition. Well, I think Ennis like said a couple of weeks ago, like kind of clapped back at somebody like he's been healthy since December. So you're getting a healthy Ennis Rakestraw more than likely in camp. And then we'll have to see where Terrion is. But in terms of the depth of that room, I do think you've at least improved in that area. Like I said, losing Amik is tough, but I think you've at least like kind of found a way of with a collection of multiple players and enough competition to kind of improve that room so it doesn't sting as badly.
Yeah,
I think there's also...
Go ahead. I was just going to say, like, they're playable guys in that room now, right? Like, they're playable. DJ Reed, Terrion Arnold, Rock Ya-Sin, McCreary are guys that you can go out there and play corner. You don't know about Ennis. You liked a little bit of what you saw from Whiteside. Dorsey is a good special teamer that has played relatively well in the small amount we've seen him out there. And then at safety, again, we don't know what the status of Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph are going to be, but Thomas Harper looked good last year. Christian Izien has played a little bit of safety before moving to nickel. Dan Jackson is kind of a wild card. I'd feel a little bit more comfortable in that room if they bring back Maddox. That feels like still a necessary move just to have an extra body that you trust out there. But if they do that, then yeah, I don't know if I would call it an improvement in the defensive backfield, but it's fortifying depth that needed to be done, right? I don't know. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the ceiling was raised from that room, but I think the floor could be if they bring back Maddox.
I think it's kind of your point too, though. You said earlier about we're just trying not to get demonstrably worse, right? We're not trying to get apparently, we took a huge step back at this position. I think like the defensive back room is pretty much like status quo for the most part in terms of talent, like in and out from where it was a year ago. I think the spot that I look at, obviously on the edge, I think there's a really interesting discussion to be had here because everybody expects more. And I think it's safe to say that the Lions aren't done, right? Like there's still more bodies to be added to that room, even though they added Payton Turner. Like maybe you want to expect that they use one of those top 50 picks on an edge rusher. But I think when I look at that spot, and I'm not trying to gas up Wonnum, but I don't think they got necessarily much worse at that spot. You know, like I think Al-Qadim Muhammad's 11 sacks that he had last year were awesome, but obviously that didn't turn into the payday that we thought it could have been, right? It was the whole Levi Onwuzurike syndrome thing where it was like, is he going to get a 2-year, $18 million deal, or is he going to get, what he ended up getting?
Right.
And I think if you look at that spot, well, okay, so you move out AQM, who the Lions did not trust playing on early downs, right? Like we got more Al-Qadim Muhammad when they wanted to change up their approach to things defensively up front. At least you get a guy now who you don't feel like you have to shoehorn into your defense and like change things in order to get him on the field, because he won't be a liability on early downs. And then the other player that they lost was Marcus Davenport. So I don't know if that, I think that that's kind of lateral, right? For them specifically as a team, Miko, I think they probably feel a little bit more comfortable on early downs, but there's still that room to draft a guy at 17 or to draft a guy that you really like at 50, where it doesn't feel like an overwhelming pressing need that like you have to move up and get your guy, or you have to pick an edge rusher at 17.
No, but I also think like you're also kind of hand tied in the sense of like you kind of can't afford to do that because, to Jeremy's point, left tackle is also like a pretty big need, right? And so you have to keep both of those windows kind of open in regards to, well, if there's a tackle available, we probably should take the tackle. And I know that's not typically how Brad Holmes drafts, but like left tackles are kind of important. And I don't think you can be like, no, we're going to go ask Joe Burrow how fun football is when he doesn't have a quality left tackle kind of protecting him type of situation. But to your overall point in terms of them getting better at the edge spot by having Wonnum, I do kind of agree with you in that regard, because yes, I think the fact that Marcus Davenport could rarely be available is already kind of like you're getting a guy that's played more football, and the fact that you're getting a guy that is at least very good at defending the run and has capable pass rushing chops. I think a lot of people would feel and probably say that like, hey, a lot of AQM's success is also like a direct benefit to Aiden Hutchinson being on the other side, right? You're going to get a lot more one-on-one opportunities. And if you do get a healthy Elaine McNeil back in the middle, if you do get Tyleik Williams taking a step forward, or even a good Levi Onwuzurike taking a step forward, and he's in there on pass rushing downs, well, DJ Wonnum will probably get more one-on-one opportunities than he's had in a while. So that could potentially open the door for him to be much more productive for this team.
Yeah. I'm halfway there because, as I said in the first segment, it still feels like they are like a third down specialist away from me being comfortable saying, okay, if you don't get an edge rusher in those first two picks, I'm okay. Because I'm still of the belief that that is a big enough need where it needs to be addressed on day 1 or day 2. But if they add, I don't know, throw out whatever one of your favorite veterans that are left, or they somehow make a trade or whatever, if they can get a guy that they can trust to, give them 20 snaps a game on third down and maybe a little bit of early down stuff in the way that they used Al-Qadim Muhammad, then I would feel a little bit more comfortable going into the draft saying, okay, we don't need an edge.
It's kind of funny because like you're explaining Zadarius Smith.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. They need a player.
There's a couple of Zadarius Smiths still
one.
Available in free agency.
There are,
yeah.
Including probably Zadarius Smith, but I think he's retired.
I think he might be done, but I think it does dovetail nicely into that topic that you were talking about, Miko, and it's offensive tackle. Like, I think personally at this point, like if you were to say, hey, the Lions are going to pick an offensive tackle and an edge player, like what order should it be in those first two picks? Like, I think I'm of the belief that like it should be the offensive tackle.
Yeah.
I think that they should prioritize getting an offensive tackle, because I think one of the sneaky cheat codes for the Lions on this budget that they're on is if they get an offensive tackle in the first round, who are they really paying outside of Sewell, right? Like Cade Mays is on a great deal. Tate Ratledge is on a rookie deal. Left guard, it's Christian Mahogany. You know, like all of a sudden, what once was Frank Ragnow is a high-paid player, Taylor Decker's a high-paid player.
Yeah, they were paying more than anyone in the league. I think they had the most expensive offensive line for at least 1 year.
And if they get an offensive tackle that they love, that can hunker down either side that they need to, Miko, now all of a sudden you have one of the cheapest and maybe like outplaying what their value is in terms of their dollars.
And I do think like that is where it'll be interesting to see come draft night how aggressive they decide to be, because I think I could see them be more likely to be aggressive in the draft for a tackle than an edge, just to like, if we're kind of all leaning towards this way where like, hey, it looks like the Lions are probably going to try and take whatever tackle falls to them at 17. You now have to worry about teams jumping you to get a tackle that want to tackle behind you.
So like 14 teams ahead of Detroit that need an offensive tackle,
right,
or could draft one, and you'd be like, okay, that makes sense.
Our good friend Brandon Lee Gowden of Bleeding Green Nation even threw out today on Twitter is like, the Eagles are a good bet for trading up and getting a tackle this year.
Yeah, like there's going to be a team like that are just like, hey, we're close to set. We can afford to give up some draft capital to make sure that we get the tackle we want. And I think the Lions are going to have to be of that same ilk, and it's going to piss people off. Like, I know it is. Outside of Jeremy, who's always anti-trade up, but like the fan base will be upset even though it's a position of need, because like, especially if it includes another, third round pick being given away in the future.
Look, what I'm thinking, and I'm going to call my shot right now, I think you could see Brad Holmes trade a future first round pick to move up and take an offensive tackle
in the top 10.
Yeah.
If it's a future first, you have to go that high, and it has to be. Well, does it have to be the kid from Miami? Like, I feel, because like I know that's what would make
it just has to be their guy.
People,
right? Whoever their guy is. You know what I mean? Like, if it takes that to maybe outbid another team, I could definitely see Brad Holmes doing that. But I think you almost have to prioritize and keep that second round pick this year now, because there are an awful lot of other questions that are like long-term wise that you could spend that pick on a guy who could be good in developmental, whether it's an edge player, whether it's a cornerback, whether it's a linebacker, whether it's, for the most part, the offense would feel set. Like, it's just a lot of defensive tinkering that needs to be done if you get that offensive tackle.
And I think, Jeremy, like, they've, in a weird way, they've kicked the can down the road enough times on edge where it's like, if you don't take a first round edge this year, like, I don't think anyone's going to be surprised.
Yeah. And I want to talk about the offensive. I just want to say one more thing about the offensive line, and then we can talk about edge, because this offseason, I think I got a little bit fooled. One, by just like, Brad and Dan seem to be talking about maybe being a little bit more aggressive in their free agency strategy changing. And I'll never forget at the end of the season when Dan Campbell was asked about the offensive line and what does it mean to get that back to the standard they were at, his answer was, it's everything. It's everything. And Larry Borum and Cade Mays does not equate to the same thing as that. Like, that is not we are going to put a heavy focus on the offensive line. We are going to make sure that doesn't take a step back. That is not enough. And so I'm with you guys. I could absolutely see Brad Holmes ensure that a top 10 pick seals the deal on the offensive line. Like, I would not be surprised one bit. I wouldn't love it. I wouldn't hate it as much as I play it up a little bit. But I think it's very much on the table that they are just like, we need to make sure this is set. We need to make sure we're set for the future at both tackle spots. Let's just go out there and do it. Who cares? This is where Brad Holmes gets aggressive. Like, Brad Holmes has this reputation of not being aggressive, and it's true, and it's relatively true in free agency, but it's not true in the draft. That dude goes and gets his guys.
I have to ask the question though, like, people will be upset if it's an offensive tackle and not an edge player.
Some will. I don't, like, if they go, like, if it's a future second or a future first that they spend to get it, and then they spend an edge, spend the second round pick on an edge, I don't think people will be mad.
Yeah,
Probably
I
not.
think in
That would
hindsight,
soften the blow.
yeah,
But like people have
but
been
like
so
night
starved for
one,
that player. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's true.
yeah, night one, people would be
People-
upset. Yeah, if you, especially if like, I mean, I think someone asked during the break, like, what if Ruben Bain falls to 17? If you jump into the top 10 and you have like, and Ruben Bain is falling, and people are like, oh, they're going to draft Ruben Bain, and you take the tackle out of Miami, like, first of all, I'm going to be ecstatic. I'm going to be doing backflips. But like, yeah, there's going to be a portion of the fan base that's like, Brad Holmes is not serious.
I think the one thing that we can almost entirely rule out after having this discussion is like I would give it such a small, odd percentage chance of happening as him moving back from 17.
Just drive
Like,
the stake through my heart.
I think that there's so much greater of a chance that he would move up than ever consider moving down, unless you get to 17 and nobody has really fallen, right? If they don't have one of their first round grade guys there, then I could see them moving back slightly, but I definitely can see them moving up.
But doesn't
and
that
being
speak a
aggressive
little
Yeah,
bit?
I think it's,
Speak a little bit to like the, I don't want to say desperation, but kind of the urgency maybe of where their roster is at, is where like they can't afford to get a lower, they can't afford to get a second round talent at 17.
yeah,
right.
I think
Yeah,
it's,
they
I
can't
think it's
settle
more
it, yeah.
likely. Yeah, I think it's almost more likely that they trade up and take a guy that we don't expect them to take, like one of the tackles that we're like, oh, they could probably take them at 17, but they jump up and take them at 9, and we'd be
They
like,
might have
oh,
to though to get that
yeah,
high.
but it would be one of those, yeah, it would be one of those moments though where we like, again, I think that is more likely than the Lions staying at 17 and trading back because they want to stockpile picks or something.
But it's also kind of just how they've approached it in free agency,
Mhm.
right? Like I think we all agree that Wonnum is a guy who can at least hold water, right? Like he can at least do what he needs to do. I think we all agree that they're like Larry Borum leaves a lot to be desired, and that's no fault of his own. I don't think anybody saw that signing clearly and said, "Oh, that's the starting offensive tackle for the Detroit Lions."
Right.
Everybody said OT3, everybody said swing tackle. But then it sat with me longer and longer, and I just thought, okay, like I think that they maybe think, depending on what happens, maybe Larry Borum is going to compete to be the starting offensive tackle for the Detroit Lions. But I know, and I think everybody else knows, that that is not going to be the recipe for success on offense for this football team. And they would rather try to score 40 points and beat everybody in that way, because that's the path of least resistance when it comes to rebuilding. To your point, Jeremy, Dan Campbell, it's everything. Like this offensive line is everything. And if you don't fix that, and if you're not aggressive about it, then what are we doing?
Yeah.
That's why I think it's more important than edge at 17.
I agree.
I think offensive tackle is still like the most important need.
Yeah.
And Brad needs to be aggressive about it.
And more importantly, you can still address edge in free agency with all those veteran options. There's not, I mean, unless some sort of weird Taylor Decker reunion happens, I don't think there's an option out there, affordable option, that can be your starting left tackle.
And I do like the idea, Ryan, of them giving away like a future draft asset to secure like a move up if they need to, because there are still other areas on this team that you still need to address. Like you can't afford to give up too many more picks in this draft class. Like I think based off the conversation we've been having, like it's fairly clear that we all probably feel like, hey, tackles where they've gotten worse, right? Just because it's hard to replace a player of Taylor Decker's caliber. I would also say though, like this is why you still need to keep those picks, because like you also got worse, in my opinion, at like backup defensive tackle. Like it hasn't gotten a lot better by letting Roy Lopez walk out the window, walk out the door, and then bringing in Miles Adams. Like I don't look at that as a 1-to-1.
Sure.
Like, oh, you've leveled the ship. So like being able to keep as many draft picks. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, but like edge though, what if they bring back DJ Reader? You feel pretty solid about the defensive tackle spot, right? Like that's still like a free agency move that could happen, and you're assuaged. You're not panicking.
Yeah. But it's like, it's one of those things where like, I think like it allows you to keep both doors open, right? Where it's like, hey, we have to go out there and get a veteran. Like if we can bring a veteran like DJ Reader back, awesome. If we can't, we still need to keep a good amount of these day 3 picks specifically like the 4th and 5th
Sure.
rounders, especially if we want to possibly be even more aggressive and jump into the 3rd round and add some talent there.
Yeah, I'm weirdly optimistic about the defensive tackle room, and part of this might be like the Levi Owens-Arike stuff. We mentioned it before. You mentioned it, I think, Miko, where it's like you expect Lee McNeil to be better, you expect Tyleik Williams to take a year jump, and you have Levi Owens-Arike. Like, that's enough for me to be like, all right, I think that might offset DJ Reader and Roy Lopez moving on from the Lions enough. I would like to see another big-bodied guy in there, another nose tackle type, but those are like dime a dozen guys. And I know that's probably insulting to the position a little bit. But we've seen the Lions rotate that guy seemingly every year, right? Like it was Roy Lopez
Benito
last
Jones.
year. It was Benito Jones the year before that.
Isaiah
the guy who went to
Buggs.
the Chiefs.
Isaiah Buggs.
Yeah. Like you can find a cheap, serviceable rotational nose tackle that I think I would look at that. Once they make that signing, if they make that signing, I'd look at the defensive tackle room and be like, okay, I'm good there.
Yeah, nose tackles are the nickelbacks of the defensive line.
We were just taking these sub-package roles on defense to the woodshed today.
But they're nonetheless important, though, right?
Sure.
But
Yeah.
it's something to your point, though, Jeremy, that it's like this isn't like a huge pressing need. They can grab a guy in the summer and do that, right?
For sure.
And you'd feel fine with it. But Miko, to your point, and I think this is how I feel about the draft too, like go ahead and trade one of those future draft picks because it almost feels like you need some more depth options to get in rooms to maybe build for. You're not going to have a big role this year, right? We might draft this defensive tackle this year because we want him to play next year, right?
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot of those spots on the roster where it's like, oh, it's nice to get ready for this happening, or it's nice to get ready for that happening. We should have a contingency plan for this moving forward. Let's get a guy on day 3 that we like. We can get him in the system, and we don't have huge expectations we need to put on him. It's very much what they did with Tyleik last year.
Yeah.
In a grand scheme, right? It's like we have Roy Lopez, we have DJ Reader, Aleem will come back. We're not expecting the world of you in year 1, but in year 2, like you're going to hit the ground running because you've been here.
Yeah. I want to go back to like the original question was like where they've gotten worse, because I think offensive tackle is probably the clearest where they've gotten worse. Running back, probably. I mean,
Step back.
I'm wildly optimistic.
Me too.
Optimistic about
I'm there with you,
Isaiah
Nico.
Pacheco.
I'm a big Pacheco fan.
I would love to
targets, but
listen. And it's not a slight to Monty. Like this isn't the same situation like when they moved away from Jamal Williams and they were like, oh, we're bringing in David Montgomery. Where you're like, that's a clear upgrade. Like again, no disrespect to Jamal Williams, but you were like, that's a different type of running back. I still like. Maybe it's just the energy. Maybe it's the interview. Isaiah Pacheco is going to run through so many people's faces. Like
it's a health thing
I'm
for
just
me, though.
wildly optimistic that like that's going to work out.
Because I do think you're going to see a little bit more of like the old Isaiah Pacheco when he was, you know, almost like offensive rookie of the year that first year. It's just a health thing with the way he runs, with the way that the high injury rate of the position in general, let alone his high injury rate. That's the thing that scares me the most, because I don't know of anyone else in that running back room I would even trust to touch the football.
So that might be one of those spots, though. Day 3 picks, you want to hold on to those guys because draft a guy, or
no doubt.
You know, yeah.
But other than
wide receiver feels good though. Like
I'm
you
good.
don't have to
I'm
do
good at
anything
wide
as
receiver.
wide receiver. Like you don't have to touch it at all.
Nope. I think
backup quarterback.
I'm cool
Absolutely
with
not.
Cool. but
no, I was more so saying like as a position that's gotten better. I should have said like I think that's a position that's also gotten better.
Sure.
Hell yeah.
I just like the fact that we're having these conversations, and it's not clear either way with a lot of these positions, right? It's not clear if they've taken a half step back at running back or a full step back at offensive tackle. They have a playable guy. There are a lot of people that think Taylor Decker was a below average tackle last year, and I don't agree with that. But like he was clearly on the downswing of his career, and he clearly wasn't playing healthy. And so is Larry Borum a full step back or is he a half step back? The secondary we talked about, and that one kind of felt like wishy-washy. Did you get enough
Linebacker?
Linebacker, I feel like, is probably in maybe the other spot where you can say definitively step back. But again, half step back, full step back, kind of depends on how they change the position, how they change Derek Barnes' role. If they change Derek Barnes' role, Damone Clark, is he actually going to compete for a spot? Malcolm, we haven't really talked about Malcolm. They brought him back on an extremely affordable deal. How good does he look a year after the ACL tear?
Is that why they brought in 2 nickel corners?
With nickel.
With Ennis Rakestraw still there too?
Sure.
You have 3 guys who could play nickel cornerback, and it's like, well, do you want to have options because schematically you're going to change your defense a little bit?
Right.
You're not going to be in base so much?
And so I just think with a lot of these positions, you can take a negative view and you can make an argument that they've gotten worse at a lot of positions. You can take an optimistic view. I would say it'd be hard to say that Lions have improved at a lot of positions, but you can say what I said at the beginning of the segment, which is I don't think they've taken a significant step back. And if we go back a year ago and we talk about this Detroit Lions roster and how competitive they were, everyone this time of year thought that was a Super Bowl level roster. And if the Lions have only taken minor step backs at this point, when they still are going to add a couple more in free agency, when they're still going to add 2 high draft picks, when you're hoping a lot of the young players on this team take a year 2 or a year 3 step, I think you can easily make the argument this is still a Super Bowl contending roster.
And you talk about them still adding both in free agency and the draft, and we obviously talked about the draft pretty heavily a minute ago as far as like investing in tackle and possibly investing in edge within those top 50 picks. The Lions still do have about 24 million left in cap space, and I know people are going to look at that and it's always the numbers game where they're like, well, if you have 24 million, then you have 24 million to spend, Jeremy. But like that's not exactly how the salary cap works, right?
Yeah, no, because the Lions in general like to keep at least like 15-ish million into the season because especially with this team, injuries happen, and every time a player goes on IR, they get paid their full amount, but then you have to pay a guy to take their spot, to sign a guy to the 53, to sign a guy from the practice squad to the 53 cost salary cap space. And plus you have to put, I think it's 5 or 6 million aside for the draft class. So, if you put it at 15 million, you add the 6 million from the draft class, suddenly your 24 million is 3 million, right? There's not a ton of space right now, but there are still options, right? Like they didn't do the full restructure with Jared Goff. They didn't do any restructure to the other contracts out there that they could restructure, including Panay and Amon-Ra. So if the Lions decide there's a guy out there that they really want and is going to cost them, they can still make that move. It's just going to require a little bit of extra restructuring, which, like, it happens. We see teams now still making restructures. So when everyone was panicking that they didn't do enough restructures, they can do it as it goes. And so the question is just like, how much do they want to push into the future? How much do they want to sacrifice future cap space for this year? And they've made it clear early on that they don't want to do more than they have to, but that doesn't mean that they won't do more.
Yeah. And I think that important note about like they can do that later, Ryan, is very important when it comes down to specifically like post draft, because like Jeremy said, there's already going to be salary cap allotted to the draft class itself. But if you want to go out and potentially, let's say you still want to add a veteran edge, or you want to add a DJ Reader or another vet at a very key position that is probably not looking to sign until after the draft, you're going to need that wiggle room. And more than likely, it's going to probably cost you more than $3 million, right? Like Cam Jordan's probably not coming to Detroit for $3 million. You're going to have to be able to create that kind of space. Where would you like to see the Lions potentially like look to add even more depth or quality starters at this point in free agency?
I think it's the edge position, right? And it might be that situational guy that we keep talking about. And I think it just is that, because I don't know if there's a guy in the draft class. And again, I think I'm just so totally sold on the idea of just Lions improving the offensive line, because they just need to score 100 points a game. And I'm fine with that. And like, there was enough proof of concept, I think, in even just 2024 itself, where it's like, if the defense can just like not give up if they can make a play or two, then the offense will take care of itself. And what happened, the past season was just like the inconsistent offense and the fact that the Lions couldn't run the ball the way that they used to. And I mean, you sign a center and then you rebuild your running back room. I think it's just so important to get that offensive tackle to just make everything go on offense. That if you look, like a lot of the things I want them to shore up, Brad Holmes already did. Like he signed Izzy and he signed McCreary, and the Lions have made a lot of moves. Damone Clark at linebacker, right? Like there's enough there to be like, if you squint, you go, okay, they're pretty much set for the most part, unless they want to add some late draft picks. It's just that's how I don't know. I think that I'm feeling a lot better about the offseason after talking to you guys. They just have to they have to get their guy at offensive tackle. Like they have to.
Yeah.
Well, and Jeremy, I would argue, I mean, I feel like I've been saying this since we kind of got into this part of the offseason, but like this is where Brad Holmes really does have to crush the draft. Like Ryan talking about having to like get their guy at offensive tackle, but like I think whoever the guy is at 50, right? If you decide to go edge at 50, like that has to hit. It can't be another Josh Paschal situation. Like that guy has to come in, and it's got to be impact players in some capacity.
Yes, but I wouldn't expect that. I mean, remember last year's draft? Remember when there were all these like great second round prospects at the Lions? Everyone was mad the Lions didn't take on day 2 of the draft. None of them produced in the rookie season. Like none of them had more than 4 or 5 sacks in the rookie season. And so this is where I warn Lions fans that are like, oh, we'll just fix it in the draft. Oh, we'll just take care of this in the draft. Being a rookie in the NFL is not easy. There aren't a lot of really good rookie seasons out there outside of the first round. There just aren't. So while the line and even your first round pick, whoever they pick, if they go offensive tackle, relying on that guy to give you above average play at left tackle or right tackle in their rookie season is asking a lot of that player. It really is. And asking a rookie 50th overall pick to get you 8 sacks, good luck. That doesn't happen very often.
And I guess I'm not necessarily saying it has to be 8 sacks, right? Like impact can look drastically different. Right. It doesn't have to be necessarily 8 sacks, but like I don't think it can be a guy that you're just like it. I think Josh Paschal, unfortunately, is like the end all be all type of that conversation where it's like, hey, you can't spend more time on IR than you do on the field.
Right.
And when you are on the field, you can't like you have to be at least impacting the game in some capacity.
You can't be Ennis Rakestraw.
Right. That's fair.
Yeah.
But
that's fair.
That's just kind of me highlighting though, which is why I still want this team to add another edge. Add another guy that will give you at least 20 snaps a game. I think that's necessary because if you are waiting until day 2 of the draft to do it, you're not going to get an above average player in their first season. You just aren't.
Well, I guess that was my question, was going to be at 50. Do you think in theory you could get an edge player who could play 20 snaps a game? Now, maybe you might not get the 7-8 sacks, right? That might be a pipe dream, but like, do you get a guy that you could, I think maybe to Miko's point is like a guy who is a contributor in year 1 in the sense that they will be on the field like more often than they won't be versus like what happened last year, right? With Tyleek.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
well, that's where the expectation should be is like Tyleek. And I know Tyleek was a first round pick and not a 50th overall pick, but like he did okay, but he wasn't a game changer. In his rookie season.
But I would say I would say that like Tyleek did well at the thing that you drafted him to do his job at, which was like he was a stout run defender. If he had turned into this prolific pass rusher in the middle, you would have been like home run draft pick. He at least did the bare minimum of his job, which is, hey, he's going to defend the run at a very good rate.
I think that's mostly fair. I'd rate his rookie season a little bit lower than that, but yeah, I mean, he did what you'd expect him to do in year 1, which was exactly that. It was be a reliable run defender.
I think this is the part of the argument though that people are honing in on, and it's where like Costa and I's conversation went is like, okay, great, like they did some proliferary things, but where did they get Super Bowl ready? Where did they make a improvement in a position where it's like, that's way better and that's going to really change the Detroit Lions in 2026? And I think to your point, Jeremy, right? Like saying that guy is going to be there at 50, like don't count on that guy to be there. Like that's not an avenue to getting so
Right.
good that you feel
Yes.
good about them being a Super Bowl contender team, where we were a couple years ago, where it's like the Lions they're in the pantheon. They're with
Right.
the other teams at the top. But I think that player, if you move up for that offensive tackle, that guy has to be that player. And I think an interesting thing that could develop from that is if they do get their offensive tackle to make his rookie season and that transition easier, are they going to keep Panay at right? Or if that guy is a right tackle by trade, are they going to be like, Panay, like, we're going to move you to left tackle?
Yeah.
So that we can have this guy hit the ground running, so to speak.
Yeah.
From an offensive tackle perspective. I think that's another going to be an interesting part of the offseason.
I think also in what you were just saying, Ryan, I think kind of lends itself to what Jeremy was saying earlier when he was talking about the thing that's going to keep this team or get this team back to being like in everyone's mind as Super Bowl contender probably won't be like drastic changes with the roster. The most drastic change with the roster is the roster being healthy this year, like more healthy than not this year. But if you get better play calling from Drew Petzing, if you do get better game planning and maybe a tweaked philosophy from Kelvin Shepard with that defense, and just overall like good game plan management and game management from Dan Campbell, who doesn't have to do more than one job on game days, maybe this team as a whole can actually start punching up to the goals that they have for themselves and get back to being once again universally recognized as a true contender. Because I think something else that I can't remember if it was Jeremy you said it or Ryan that you pointed out, I don't know if like anyone else in the NFC North has gotten drastically better.
No one. Like maybe Minnesota, because their quarterback situation looks a little bit better, and emphasis on.
But even that's like a question mark.
Yeah.
No pun intended. I'm assuming, right?
No, definitely not at all.
Packers lost their starting quarterback. Yeah, NFC North is in shambles.
No, I know people aren't gonna like hearing this and won't believe me when I say this, but I do think last year's roster was Super Bowl capable. I do. And a lot of their defensive additions, and this is probably something that Brad Holmes is going to say next week, and it's not going to go over well, so consider me warning you for that. Like, a lot of his defensive additions, I think, are going to be returned from injury. It's Ali McNeil being better this year. It's Levi Onwuzurike being on the roster. It's Malcolm Rodriguez being a year removed from his ACL. It's hopefully getting Brian Branch back at some point and feeling better than obviously missing the last 1.5 months of the season. Maybe it's Kirby Joseph, maybe it's not at all. Like, I understand like the safety position in particular is precarious, and I understand that there are far more questions than answers defensively, but there is a route that I could see it working out. Does that mean, am I going to sit here and say like the defense is going to be way better this year and all these things are going to happen? No, but I can understand why. I can see that path. I can see a realistic path to Ali McNeil living up to his contract now that he's a year removed from his thing. I can see Levi Onwuzurike being an effective player, given that, you know, it was an ACL and not a back thing that he was dealing with last year. I can see a world in which Malcolm plays a significant defensive role and is relatively good at it. I mean, he was a starter his rookie season and didn't look completely out of place. And I'm not optimistic about the safety situation right now, which is why I'd like to see them add Avonte Maddox. But if they do that, and if they add an edge, I can see, you know, again, if you do like the little squinting thing, I can see it working out, provided that the injury luck just goes a little better this year.
I was just looking at the draft books or the sports books to see where they had the Lions ranked in terms of odds to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
On DraftKings and on FanDuel, they're both tied for 9th. On BetMGM, they're tied for 5th. Like, we're still talking about a team that's like widely recognized as a top 10 football team in the NFL.
So, do you guys feel like, and I'm sure I know the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you guys feel like the feelings that fans have that like, oh, this team isn't in position to contend anymore is due to a hyper focus on what we don't have versus what we do?
I mean, there does need to be a certain reminder that they have a top 5 running back, a top 5 wide receiver, a top 5 tight end, a top 5 right tackle, a top 5 linebacker, a top 5 edge rusher, and when healthy, maybe 2 top 5 safeties. Like, yeah, I think people quickly forget that. But at the same time, I understand, like, oh, they had all that last year, and what did it get them? Like, I can't sit here and defend last year too much, other than saying injuries were bad, strength of schedule was bad, coaching was not great either. And so, like, no, I get why people think it could be a worse season, because, like I said, I don't think the roster is better than it was last year. I don't know how the secondary is going to play out with so many questions there, and the offensive line has a big hole on the at left tackle. Those are major questions facing this team right now. I'm not going to shy away from that. There are big questions facing this team, but I do feel like that's the case for a lot of other teams too. I feel like there are big questions for every team. Maybe there's a little bit more in Detroit right now, but nothing that feels super out of the ordinary to me.
And Ryan, I feel like I get that people are going to, and maybe it's just because it's us, people are going to hyper focus on the fact that we're like, well, it's not as bad and everyone else is dealing with things. But like, I do want to, at least as we kind of get close to wrapping up, really shine a light on the fact that, like, we have said multiple times on this podcast that Brad Holmes still has things to do, right? We're like, I don't think any of us are sitting here like, oh no, he can just kind of coast through the rest of free agency, not really do a whole lot. Jeremy's mentioned a couple times already, like, hey, it would be great to see Avonte Maddox back. We talked about the possibility of bringing back DJ Reader. We've talked about the importance that they probably still need to have on bringing in a veteran pass rusher. And then also highlighted the fact that, like, hey, when it comes draft time, Brad may have to be more aggressive so that he can make sure that he hit all the types of players that this team needs to get to that point and stay, like, firmly positioned there.
I think we lost you there, Miko, for a little bit.
All right, I guess this is probably.
We can't understand you at all. You're going robotic. But hopefully you're recording fine on your end, which usually is the case with this new software they use.
Yeah. I think that if the Lions get the offensive tackle that they want to get in the draft and they walk out with that player, I think the Detroit Lions are a playoff team.
I do. Get me that offensive tackle. Get me a rotational edge in free agency. Get me a depth nose tackle, one more linebacker, and Avonte Maddox. That's my wish list. And then I'll feel pretty darn good about the team.
Schedule's easier. Hopefully Drew Petzing is not John Morton in disguise. They get the offensive tackle, Miko. They're a playoff team. And I think after 2024, my big takeaway from now on in the NFL is, like, just get in. I don't care. Just get in and be healthy. And then you can be the New England Patriots and go to the Super Bowl.
I would say that would be my biggest takeaway from the last 2 years, right? 2023 and 2024. Just, like, be healthy and get in. If you can be healthy and get in, I feel a lot better about this team when looking, again, not looking at what they don't have, but looking at what they do have. Looking at the quarterback, looking at the running back, looking at the wide receiver duo that you have, the tight end that you'll have that'll be healthier hopefully by that point in the season. Yeah. Like, there's a lot to be optimistic about in that sense.
They made the NFC Championship game with Cam Sutton and Kendall Vildor as their cornerbacks. Like, you don't have to fix everything. Not everything needs to be perfect. I guess that's the kind of takeaway too, is, like, they do have these really important positions. Like, offensive tackle matters a lot. It's a premium position. It's why everybody pays through the nose for it, or they'd be willing to trade future first-round draft picks to move up and get one. And the edge defender is important. Those are their two biggest needs. So, I mean, maybe that's the counterbalance to this, is, like, if you are optimistic, well, the thing weighing you down is, like, well, they have, like, premium positions that they need to get better at. And they need to, like, be much better at than they were a year ago.
And I think even though we've added pieces in free agency, like, I don't think that need has budged, right? Like, it's still very much like, I don't know, Jeremy. I still feel like it's very much like Brad Holmes has to address these things. Like, it's not something that he can just be like,
sure,
no, we're fine.
Yeah. And I say will. I won't be down there, but the owners' meetings are next week, and so we'll get maybe a little bit clearer vision of where Brad thinks the roster is at. He doesn't tend to give like very eye-opening answers, but it'll be interesting to see what he thinks about the situation at edge, the situation at tackle, how things went down with Taylor Decker, and get a lot of these early answers of where he thinks the roster is at, how much work he thinks there's still left to do in free agency. And then, he won't tell us anything about what they're going to do in the draft, but maybe we can get a better understanding of just where he thinks the roster is at.
All right, guys. Well, I at least have a better understanding of where this podcast is at and where the fan base should at least be at when it comes down to at least, going into the rest of free agency as we kind of get ready and gear up for the draft, which is kind of the next big thing kind of coming down the pipe. But before we wrap up, we got a couple reviews that you guys want to kind of read. So let's go ahead and do that. And this is a good reminder to you guys that are listening to the audio version of the podcast. If you are enjoying the podcast, take the time to leave us a review, right? We love being able to hear from you guys and get and find out how much you guys are enjoying the podcast or things like that. So leave us a 5-star review and we'll pick a couple of them out and make sure to read them during the podcast. So yeah, whoever wants to go first.
Brian, why don't you take whichever one you want to read?
All right. So we have one from mhill0923 a couple weeks ago. Title review, best show in town. I'm a boy mom. When my sons decided to play football, I figured I needed to learn a little something. We started watching the Lions more, and I found this podcast that has been so helpful in learning about the team and the sport. The crew is entertaining and genuine, which I appreciate. Even my 11-year-old likes to listen. Yikes. They didn't say that. Director commentary. I've tried other podcasts, but none compare. I'm a therapist in a high school, and it's always a bright spot for me when I leave a challenging day and can turn this podcast on during the ride home. As someone who also works in education, like us being the thing that you look forward to after a long, stressful day, it's like maybe the nicest thing that's anybody's ever said about my work.
I was gonna say that, and the fact of like that you're. I was gonna say that, and the fact that you're a mom listening to this podcast like on your own, like that you're not being forced to listen to this by your children. I appreciate that as well. That's a great compliment.
But who heals you, Ryan? What podcast heals you? Do you just listen to our podcast on the ride home?
No, he listens to 97.1. He just grows more hatred in his heart on his drive home.
The radio doesn't work, guys. I told you this. No, I'm like Matthew McConaughey. I never like listen to or watch the thing I do.
So someone needs to make a podcast to heal you.
Can you?
This is therapy enough, right? We do a podcast. Isn't that enough?
I mean, you did say you felt a lot better at the end of the show.
But that's what we talk about all the time. When the Lions have an awful game, and then we come on here and we're like, "This team sucks. I hate this." At the end of it, you're like, "Nah, here's next week. Things aren't so bad."
Well, let's get to the next review here from Monkey81, who is always active in our chats as well in our live show. Says, great podcast, 5 stars. Love the podcast, mailbag and first bite. It's not full of hot takes and rage bait, just great Lions content. And when they get off on a tangent, it's just as entertaining. Love their sense of humor. The only thing more impressive than the podcast is the amount of protein in a serving of Righteous Felon beef jerky. Definitely recommend.
Highly recommend. POD15 at righteousfelon.com.
Grade that segue. That was impressive in that review.
Yeah, no, that's a 10 out of 10. Listen, I grade very generously over here. Unlike some members of our live audience, which we love dearly. But all right, guys, that's pretty much going to do it for this week's episode of the Pride Detroit PODcast. If you are looking for any more additional Lions content, if you want to stay up to date on the latest news, roster news, contract information, you can always do that over at prideofdetroit.com. We are going to be continuing to put up more and more articles each and every day. Jeremy kind of teased it a little bit that there will be owners meetings in a couple of weeks. So if you want to find out what Brad or Dan are saying at those meetings, you want to make sure that you're tapped in on the website to get that information as soon as it's made available. And yeah, if you are enjoying the video version or like tuning into our live streams, you can always do that over at YouTube, over at youtube.com/PrideDetroit, over on Twitch if you're more of a Twitch person at twitch.tv/PrideDetroit as well. So with all of that said, I'm Miko. He's Ryan. He's Jeremy. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch and listen, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Sweet. Boom. You always seem to turn a little bit robot-y, like at the very end of the podcast. It's like, is your computer overheating?
Yeah, I don't know, dude. Like, it's possible. I don't know. I did get like a message like before when I turned it on this today, and it was like, "Hey, I have to do a software update," and I was like, "Well, you're gonna do that later." But that's the benefit of Riverside, because while it may be choppy for you guys, it's like perfectly clear for me, so the recording should be fine.
Nice. All right, I got a couple alerts here, and then we can probably get out of here early, unless you guys have anything else you want to talk about. Nick the Greek, 100 bit. I'm sorry. Well, I jumped. Let's do this 100 bits first. He says this will be a vilified take, but with serious injuries to Branch, Kirby, and Laporta, and huge questions about Aleem, I think this is a soft reset year. That is a take I've seen a lot of, and I understand it, right? Kind of as I closed on the podcast, like there are a lot of very big questions about this team right now, and if half of them go their way and half of them don't, then maybe that's not a great year. But if
and I think that's why, like, I think we should all be open to the fact, like, drafting a safety on day 3, right? Like, may be in the cards, and it could or it could not be a sign about Kirby or BB, or it could just be the fact of like, hey, we want to have an insurance policy,
right?
So yeah,
maybe Brian Branch is going to be ready by week 1. Probably not, almost certainly not, but maybe. You don't know.
Just take as much time as you need, BB. Like
No, we need you right away. We need you week 1. Dan Jackson's good.
You remember when people used to rush back from like Achilles injuries, and then like the very next thing that would happen is like they would tear an ACL? Like it was like a domino effect.
Don't put that out there.
That's why I'm saying I don't want them to rush back. Every time that happened in the league, like in any other sport, guys would try to rush back from Achilles injuries, and then it's just like, hey, no.
It's true.
Like Ryan said, I need you in January when the playoffs are on the line. Like I don't necessarily need you in September
playing the Pittsburgh Steelers and Minnesota Vikings. Oh God.
Is that like
those games will go down in history? Like with the Tennessee Titans game from 20 whatever what that was.
You talking about is that the 2016 season? The flag one?
No, I'm talking about the crappy field one. The ice field.
Oh, the Carolina game.
Oh, Carolina, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of Tennessee Titans games though. It's like the Sean Hill game.
Oh God, I don't even know if I remember that. Oh, yes, I remember that one.
Yeah, the Hail Mary.
One. Yeah.
But then there's I always think of the Tennessee Titan one from 2016 because of the soundtrack to the season.
Yeah, I picked Coldplay's
and you chose
Yellow.
Coldplay's Yellow because there was 1,000 flags in that game.
God, I want to bring that back. I wish people liked it.
It's content that should have blew up our website, if I'm being honest. Like that's the best part about our website is when we do creative stuff like that.
Yeah. I do enjoy scratching that creative itch sometimes, even though it's generally not received well. Like the one idea that I had in retrospect, probably not the greatest idea, was the fan fiction that I would write every time the Lions lost.
Yeah, I remember that.
I wrote it as if they won, and it was just trying to be funny and raise spirits. But people were like, "How pathetic is this? You're pretending they won." And I'm just like, "All right, the internet doesn't want."
You're missing
fun.
the point.
That's fine.
Yeah, you're missing.
It'd be so much better now that we have AI, though. Probably. Just write it as like a folk tale.
I was looking at what trade ups have costed for teams to move up, and specifically, I don't know why, but I was just looking at offensive linemen.
Yeah,
like what it costs for teams to move up and trade up. But obviously, there's one of them that the Lions were a part of in 2023 when the Cardinals moved up from 12 to 6 to take Paris Johnson Jr. That was the Gibbs trade.
Okay. Oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
So Detroit traded 6 and 81 to Arizona for 12, 34, and 168. So like that, and again, that's going from 12 to 6 versus what it would be from like 17 to whatever. But like, there was another trade that happened like here. So later on in the first round, Pittsburgh moves from 17 to 14 to take Broderick Jones. To move up 3 spots, it cost them a first and a fourth. To move from 17 to 14.
An additional first? A future
No.
first? Just 17 you're talking about.
Yeah, so they're moving from 17 to 14.
So it only cost them.
And they gave up.
They gave up 17. They gave up 17 and 120 to move up from 17 to 14.
Gotcha.
If you trade a future first round pick, you're talking about moving from like 17 to like 6, 7. Look, I'm all about it. Just do it. I know you hate it, but
yeah, I hate it because
you kind of agree with it though.
No, well, I agree with shoring up the tackle position. I don't agree with it.
You agree with the whole thing.
No,
you
because what this essentially is doing is the same thing as like maximum restructuring. Is you're selling future assets for now.
But also if you look at it from an investment standpoint, and you have this cost controlled player at a premium position, that kind of unlocked everything at the beginning though with Sewell, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
you
nail that pick, okay, like you're cost controlled, and then it's okay that we pay you big. You see the JSN deal today?
Yeah.
Did you see where that moved Amon-Ra?
He's out of the top 5 now. Which
he's 9th.
Can we stop doing this though? Can we stop being like, oh my God, Brad Holmes is a genius. 2 years after he signed his deal, he's no longer in the top. Yeah, that's how contracts work. Okay.
Yeah.
When you 2 years after you've signed your contract, you're out of the top 5 at every position, in every situation.
There's varying degrees though, where it's like giving a player all that money and then falling flat on their face, right? Like, there's a difference between that, because like. I was thinking Deshaun Watson. I don't know why that name, but like it was like immediately as soon as they got money. But Kenny Galladay is a great example. But like there's that where it's like, okay, that deal aged like milk, or it's like, oh, the inverse is this whole thing that you're talking about. The phenomenon that always happens where it's like, are we really going to make Aiden Hutchinson the highest paid defensive player of all time? Like, are we really going to do that? And then that lasts for 6 months.
Yeah. Right. It's just, I for some reason I get annoyed with like the fascination of like, as the salary cap grows and more people get paid, people you paid years ago are suddenly further down the list. Like, yeah, that's like, if you look at the top salaries at every position, it's new contracts. It's new guys. There's not a 3-year-old contract. I'm sure there's maybe like 1 or 2 examples of like a 2 or 3-year-old contract that's still up there, but there's not many. Like maybe Saquon. Yeah, Saquon's up there. What's that, 2 years old?
I have homework. I need to look at what it's going to cost to move up into the top 10, and I need to watch Larry Borum tape.
Sounds like an article.
Is it? Do you think that's a trade that's like should be appealing to anybody? Ryan,
for content
like,
now.
Just the simple fact of being like, hey, like I'll give you a future first. Because like I think that's always a tough thing about teams that are in the top 10, right? Is like those teams suck more than likely.
Sometimes, yeah. Most often.
Oh, that's why I said more than likely, right? Like I mean, like the Chiefs are in the top 10, and like
they probably don't suck.
Yeah. But I do wonder if like that would be enough of just being like, hey, listen, you get a future first round pick next year. Just
I'm very rarely ever team trade up. Like I think I know Jeremy's more team trade down than anybody ever possibly would be. But like,
Just
I think
mean
Jeremy
Belichick.
and I have Freaky Friday'd a little bit. Like, I'm more optimistic about the team right now.
That makes me. You have kind of
I
been
think
more of
you're
the
more
wet blanket
skeptical.
that off season.
I have
You
Yeah.
have been.
wet blanket. Yeah,
Yeah. Maybe not always on the podcast, but
I think it's Red Wings residual. It's rubbing off. It's
dude, it's Pistons residual. Their best player has
I
a
was gonna say,
collapsed
like, it's
lung on a
fine.
routine
He's fine.
play.
and they're 2-0 without him.
Yeah, everything's hunky dory.
51 wins, baby. He's gonna be ready by week one.
he'll be back by the he'll be back for the playoffs.
Sources
He'll be fine.
sources say he's gonna be ready by the first week of the postseason.
How many games did the Lions win in 2025? How many games did they win in 2024?
15.
Yeah.
What about that? He's gonna be
If
ready.
the
by
Pist-
he's
if
gonna
the
be ready by the
Pistons-
playoffs. Sources told the Pride of Detroit Slack room.
if the Pistons lose to an 8 seed, I'm going into hiding. The Pistons losing to an 8 seed, the Red Wings missing the playoffs. Like, if I'm telling you, if there's like a third thing that happens, like Brad Holmes walks out of the 2026 NFL draft without an offensive tackle.
He takes a guard and he trades up and takes a guard.
Yeah, but I just talked myself into Miles Frazier at tackle. That's what I would do. What's Colby Sorsdahl up to?
What would be the reaction if he like somehow traded up into like the top 5 and we're like, oh, he's gonna take the kid out of Miami and he takes Sonny Styles instead?
Dude, I'd be pants off still. I don't care. Sonny Styles, let's go. Trading up for a linebacker would be wicked work.
You would get
into the
an
top
F
5
grade from every single person. It doesn't matter how good he
People
is.
would be so confused. Everyone would be so confused.
Nope,
They
no,
gave him a
not
future
necessarily.
first for a linebacker.
Mike Valenti would be confused.
Oh God! See, you listen to that station too much. I don't even know what you're referencing.
You know what I'm referencing.
I don't.
There'd be a clear discord between
Between the two.
Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell.
So who's pulling
We'd
the
have to go-
strings
we'd
on a
have to go
Sonny
look at the
Styles
Lions
pick?
war room. We'd have to look at the Lions
Brad.
war room and see who tackled who to get to the phone. Who suplexed Sue to get to the phone first?
Like, I want to see a moment in the draft where Dan Campbell looks like Mike Vrabel in his final year in Tennessee.
Just
Those 1,000-yard
dejected and just
stare.
like, I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Remember when they put cameras on him when they traded AJ Brown? And then they drafted Treylon Burks, and he's just, what are we doing?
He's like, what?
I'm very interested to see how things are going to go next week. I think is it Monday? The owners' meetings, I think. It's either Monday or Tuesday.
Where are they at?
Arizona.
Oh, I think we've talked.
Are they
about
always
this.
in Arizona?
They move. No, because they're in
They
Florida
go back
one
and
year.
forth
Okay.
between Florida and Arizona. I'll go to everyone that's in Florida because I have a place to stay in the car.
Yeah,
And flying to Arizona
Plus
is
you can
like
kill two birds with
$1,000.
one dude. And it feels like it takes forever.
And it
fly
certainly
out
will
there.
now.
Yeah.
Well, if any of our listeners or viewers live in Arizona, Jeremy needs a place to stay.
Yeah. And if you have a private jet, let me know.
Jeremy's looking for a sugar mama, apparently.
That's right.
A snowbird sugar mama.
We know that
Arizona
moms
might be a
listen.
good place to
We
find
know that
one.
moms listen to the show. We have one
Arizona
review
might
that
be a
proves
key
it.
place to- Oh man, you're about to get so many weird DMs now.
Oh, man. Not only is Jeremy looking for a place to stay for the owners' meetings, he could be looking to become dad.
The next time we do a live show, there's gonna be like so many minivans out front. Like just
Yonkers, this is what happens when we spend a week away from each other, an extra week away from each other. Oh. Anyways, there was another Nick the Greek message that we should get to. 63 months subscribed to the channel. So 7 Twitch babies, 7? That's more than Eric, Miko, and Ryan combined. I don't think that's true.
Yeah, that's incorrect.
Yeah.
I just did the math.
yeah.
Our number is greater than 7. I'm going to be intentionally vague. I don't know why. I'm just feeling that way now. Feeling
We're
extra
talking about
cautious.
kids. That's fine.
Just know that it's not going above 7 for any of us.
Yeah, the number is fixed. I'll tell you that.
I don't know. I think the Schlitz got one more in him.
Oh
Dude,
man,
I cannot imagine having a newborn.
I
Are
would.
you kidding me?
Nothing would bring me like more joy than to see Eric have to put that in Slack.
The man will never leave his house if there's another one. That was my way of testing to see if either Laura or Eric were in the chat.
Oh man,
Because I would have expected all caps.
we'd have to start calling Eric the love machine. Like, 'cause, like
I would have been expecting a knock at your door, being honest.
More just like a car
chloroform
through the
minute
front
it came out
door.
of his mouth and just,
Guys, we have to pay up, by the way, and I just need to
Oh, your nuggies?
have my body prepared for when
Yeah.
I'm going to try to take down as many nuggets. I don't know if I can do 100.
You gotta try.
dude, I don't know if I can do 5 miles.
I definitely can't do 100 up downs at once, but I'm gonna spread them out through a podcast. Do like 33 3 times.
See, that's so much easier though. Like,
So much easier than eating 33 nuggets at the beginning, 33 nuggets in the middle, and 33
well, if
nuggets
you're
at the
eating,
end.
you have to
because
try
by
to eat them all
60,
at
You're
once.
gonna be.
I know.
You might
dude.
as well.
That's what I mean. I have to power through it. So,
Yep.
I can't do it at the beginning of the show.
Yeah,
I'll
do it
be
during your break.
useless in the second half. In between segment
No,
1 and
how many
segment 2.
Yeah, let's
how
see if
many-
the
hold on, how
audio
many can you eat
version
in the
is
first
that
segment?
different between the first and second segment.
I think you should just eat. I think you should eat as many as you can in the first segment. Take a break during the break, and then just power through to the end.
It would just be subtitles, and it would just say heavy breathing.
Just wheezing.
I don't know. Me and Morgan are trying to do a draft stream. Like, you could just eat them during the stream. Like,
There you go. You guys doing a live stream?
Okay,
Is that
but
what you're telling me?
How,
we're trying to play one. Yeah, I still
How
have like
long-
there's
yeah.
still some fuzziness.
how long is that? Like 3?
Oh, you gotta-
How many hours?
Gotta figure out how to
Yeah.
stream.
Probably like 4 hours, right? Is that
Yeah,
usually
probably
what
like 3 or
first
4
round
hours.
takes?
If we do like pre-draft show and then
Oh god, yeah.
the
it's-
entire draft and stuff. Yeah.
I think it's 8 to midnight-ish, 7 to midnight-ish, and then noon to 8-ish. The 3 days.
How many nuggets is that per minute?
I'm telling you, you stretch it out, it's only going to make it harder. Maybe, I know this would be changing the rules, but maybe we can do it like, you know how people treat like the Waffle House, 24 hours in a Waffle House, every waffle you eat or pancake you eat or whatever is an hour off your time.
Yeah. Oh, can we do that? Can we make something up like that?
Wait, but how many nuggets would that be? How many nuggets does he have to eat to take nuggets off?
This is a good question.
Or if there are other things I can do to get nuggets taken off.
Okay. What does that
Oh,
mean?
you can run a mile for me.
What does that
You
mean?
can run a mile for me.
I can run a. Can
Run
I?
a mile. I'll take 20 nuggets off.
I'll trade you 20 nuggets for a mile.
I'll take 20
50 nuggets, 50 up downs.
55 nuggets, 55 up downs, 55 miles. gonna drop some paperwork and I'm gonna send it to you on Twitter, Miko. And if you agree to the terms of the trade, I think it's.
I don't know. Chat might not.
Are you gonna David Stern this trade?
I think Chat has to be the one that signs on the dotted line.
Fine. That's fine. Let's drop it. Hold on, we can just do this right now.
Yeah.
The terms of the agreement are 20 nuggets in exchange for one of Miko's miles.
So you would then have to do 80 nuggets and 1 mile run.
Hold on. Let me sweeten the deal a little bit. I'll do 1.5 miles if you take 25 of my nuggets.
I could do that, yeah.
Fun. Deal. How many miles did you have to run, Miko? 5?
5.
So it would be 3.5 and 25 nuggets.
3.5. Yeah.
75 nuggets and 1.5
miles for me. Yeah.
Here's the problem.
I'll trade you some nuggets for up downs now. Hold on, it's a 3-team trade.
The problem here is that you, in my opinion, you would then have to do both those things on the same day. It can't be like, oh, I'm just going to run 1.5 miles on one day and then eat 75 nuggets. You need to do those both at the same day.
I'm going to eat 75 nuggets and then run 1.5 miles. It's just going to be me throwing up. Okay, hold on. No, this is what I was saying. I'll offer to retain salary in a trade with you, Jeremy. I will pay for the nuggets. So that's me retaining salary. I will trade you 15 nuggets for 15 up downs.
But
I
you're
don't see no.
But you're just retaining the nuggets?
No, I'll pay for the nuggets.
What does that mean?
I'm paying their salary. I'll buy your nuggets.
Okay, you're literally just buying. No.
I didn't retain salary in the trade with Miko. Miko has to buy his own nuggets,
which is perfectly fine. I got a McDonald's app like that.
Yeah. That's big. Well, big time points.
I didn't realize you meant literally paying for them. That's barely sweetening the deal.
I mean, it's free dinner. 15 nuggets for 10 up downs. 15 nuggets for 10 up downs.
Nah, see, I'm doing the up downs. I'm doing all 100 of them.
Put it to a vote. Everybody in chat right now. 25 nuggets for 1.5 miles.
Should I do? I feel like tradition means I should probably do Twitch chat, but there are more people on YouTube right now. And I think I know how to do a poll. I can do a poll on YouTube.
They just do it on Twitter then.
Twitter?
Yeah. And then
oops.
We can check it.
Too many trolls on Twitter. I'll make fake accounts just to push this trade through. I want to know if the deal is going through tonight or not.
Is there a deadline on this trade?
Yes, we're up against the deadline.
Yes.
The deadline's 8:59 p.m.
I'm not. Then you put up the poll.
Hold on. And Ryan has to pass a physical before he runs the mile.
Oh no!
They know about the hardware in my leg. They know about it already.
Nick the Break 100 bits says not enough Decker teasing criticism on here. There's something untoward about complaining repeatedly about not spending time with your kids, then changing your mind and quoting the Bible, and then heckling over millions of dollars and then disappearing. Excuse me. If you want to be mad at Decker, be mad at Decker. I don't got energy for that.
Nah. His wife, his kids, whatever they came to the agreement on.
Plus, we're judging people on vulnerable moments, you know? Like, if you're going to criticize Decker for being over dramatic, I mean, maybe you experience going through 4 months of football with a very injured shoulder while being away from family while the team loses and doesn't even make the playoffs when they had Super Bowl expectations right after a game. Only person Jeremy believes in is Levi. Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe I don't believe in anybody else. I mean, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's the harm in believing that Levi could be a contributor this year? Oh, no, I'm wrong? Oh, no. A million people are wrong about things every day. Jeremy believes in Levi and the Vikings. I don't believe in the Vikings this year.
Oh man, wait till Levi ends up on the Vikings. Jeremy's gonna be insufferable.
It's true. Are you doing polls? What are you doing over there? Nugget trade polls.
There it is.
Was it on Twitch? Or
I have it on Twitch.
I don't have Twitch open. Go over to Twitch. Vote on whether you think this trade should go through. Do you support the terms of the trade? Wow. How did you get Twitch on your side? Twitch is never on my side.
Yeah, I have no clue.
Also, how
because people now want to see him eat nuggets and have to run like that.
There are also something nefarious is happening. There are almost twice as many votes as there are people watching. Ryan?
How is that even possible?
I don't know. I feel like Ryan's stuffing the ballot somehow.
Yeah, you can spend channel points to vote again. I made it so it's only 50. It's only 50 channel points to vote again. So I was
You set up the poll for your own success, you cheating son of a bitch. Oh, and it's working against you now because you're losing.
Oh, come on.
Just getting crushed
will
once
say,
people
Ryan,
figured it out.
Chat is making a very good point that you did do a lot of bragging that you could eat 100 nuggets, that you could down 100 nuggets, no problem.
Yeah, I've changed my mind on that.
Just absolutely crushed now.
Someone said, LJ said it's double the nuggets.
How about you can get one child to help you?
I get one child to help me.
No.
They're only gonna get like 5.
Middle child's going through a growth spurt right now, and she'll eat like 2 bowls of cereal in the morning and a yogurt and a banana.
Hell yes.
And I'm just like, where are you putting all of this?
Yeah. Jeremy, we can't trust him to have the kids help him. He literally just stuffed the ballot. He will pay the children to eat more nuggets. Like,
no,
you're losing
channel points are
77
free.
to 23% right now.
Like he will promise those kids a trip to the ice cream store and like.
I was fully expecting to get caught. Like, let me just make that clear, because I was clearly stuffing the ballot in such a way. I just thought it was so funny that you could do that. I was like, I can vote again and just spend channel points.
I think there's a way you can do it with like donations too. Nah, maybe that's not true. That seems like a step too far.
So I'm still stuffing the no ballot.
You know, we should be doing this more often so that people don't get enough channel points to make me do stuff.
Oh,
just
yeah,
make them spend it on polls.
Ever.
The puppeteer. See, he's the one who's orchestrated all of this. He's going to pretend like he had no idea.
Oh, yeah. Don't pawn this off on me, sir. I forgot to look. Were there any requests today? I forgot to look. Nope, no requests. I'm kind of sad no one's done our new channel point reduction.
Look what you done, Ryan.
I can't believe we're polling lower than our own government. I don't feel optimistic about the direction the Lions are heading anymore. All right, I need to go home and eat dinner. Probably stop and get some nuggets.
Yeah, you gotta start training. I feel like this is the time that we should do it, though. Like this time between the draft and free agency, it's like obviously we'll ramp up draft talk, but there won't be a lot of news to talk about. So maybe we spice up some of these streams with a little Movember reward stuff.
I mean, yeah, I'll have to do my stuff off stream, so.
True. You'll have to record
me
it in
too.
some sort of way. No.
Yeah, me too.
No.
No.
You can stream it from your account if you want. Your Twitch account.
Oh,
No.
That you used to stream
right.
golf from.
Oh.
Golf and also wrestling matches.
And actually, I don't know if
Tuesday
people
night
know
Twitch.
this. You were the first one to do Madden Sims.
I was, and I wrote about them actually on the website.
That's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Way back when.
Yep. Way back when. And then, yeah, because I wouldn't do them live. I would just write up the results. And
Oh, I
stuff.
thought you did. I thought you recorded them live, but you just weren't. You weren't talking.
Yeah, eventually I did that,
Yeah.
but like there wasn't very much like user like interaction.
Yeah.
Like there were some people who would watch, but it's obviously nothing like you where you're like talking football and providing play-by-play.
Hey,
It's
thanks
a new
for
day, man. You're
by the
a big time podcast star.
thanks for dropping by those Detroit guys. It's been a while since I've seen you guys, but
Yeah,
old friends of the show.
yes indeed.
All right.
Looks like Nay won, so
I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of looking forward to eating 25 nuggets.
You can still do that. You don't need a trade to do that.
I mean, yeah, but like it was gonna be better when I was gonna get a mile off, a mile and a half off.
I know it was gonna be real nice.
Commissioner chat, bringing the hammer down.
Freaking Roger Goodell out here,
Right?
just striking down. You guys are the David Stern of Twitch chats.
Dang.
The one
I do
last
think we
thing,
need to find a way to incorporate Twitch trades though from now. Like Movember trades seems like an amazing concept that we should absolutely have going forward.
absolutely. I was gonna say if you guys aren't PODD subscribers, you should probably do that because I know that there are a lot of free agents, and I know Jeremy and I are working on doing a lot of our
First
interview
episodes.
series. So we'll have like a ton of those coming. So
Yeah, once our schedules are a little bit clear, which should start next week, maybe even hammering out 2 a week.
yeah, like you should get like a steady stream of them for a while.
I gotta, here, hold on. I want to share. There you go. Enjoy that.
The hell is this?
Shout out Jake Powers who's watching.
So the limit is 412.
Oh yeah.
Oh, so you're good, Ryan. You're in a safe zone.
Yeah, I think I can do it. I think that it's just going to make me feel uncomfortable.
You think,
And I'm
you
not
really
gonna
think you can do it?
Nuggets, though.
There's
Yeah,
no shot
like-
I can do it.
It's just one of those things where it's like you don't want to realize that you are the person who can do that. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to eat 100 nuggets, and then I'm like, oh, cool, yeah, I'm just like I'm the guy who ate 100 nuggets on stream.
Yeah, it's hilarious that like Jeremy and I are both doing like fitness related things, and it's like, hey, I want to see how much fast food I can eat.
Mine I was tying back to my player though, because I was like Jameson Williams. Okay, what about like things that I can eat from McDonald's?
That's fair. I did the JMO challenges.
Was yours JMO related? I thought yours was golf related.
Oh, mine was golf related.
You're right.
Mine was JMO related.
Yours was JMO related.
Oh, that's right.
Story fell
You're
through
a
real
real
quick.
quarterback.
All right, hold on a second. So like, Jared Goff is to blame for all of this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you too, a little bit.
No, this is Jared Goff's fault.
I
he
can't
should
wait
pay
for the prediction,
Nuggets.
though.
He should pay for the Nuggets.
I don't think he can afford it.
We should get Jared Goff to be on stream for this because I think this would be absolutely amazing.
Oh, I know he can afford it because he just got some of his deal restructured, so he's got some money coming his way. He can foot the bill.
This is going to be one of the more fun Twitch predictions that we do.
But how many nuggets I can eat? The over under.
We have to set an over under, and
you can't tell me what it is, though.
That's true.
That is true.
I will Malik Beasley the crap out of that line.
But like, I wonder if we just did the 100 as the line. Will he do it? Yes, no. What the odds are going to be if you cash in on yes? I feel like it's going to be like 10-1.
I don't.
Okay, all right. No, just keep counting me. But that's the thing. I can't brag about that.
I'm just going out based on what I think the betting is going to be.
You're not going to feel great about that.
I'm not.
You're not going to feel great about winning that bet.
Oh, there's those Detroit guys just shared a Instagram reel of someone saying giving $100 to someone if they can eat more Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets than I can. I don't know how this is going to end, but I'll share it with you guys anyways. I'm not going to play it on stream because I don't know what it's like with Instagram and sharing their content.
Austin Mammoth, I appreciate that. And I think that you're right. Also, the answer to the question, what if I vomit? I'm probably going to quit.
Over.
No, I'm probably going to quit the podcast. I'm probably done with Pride of Detroit. Like, if I vomit on stream from eating 100 nuggets, are you kidding me? There's no coming back from that.
I do think that's literally against TOA. In terms of
TOS.
TOS.
Terms of service.
Yeah. But if we just heard you vomit, that's fine. Just don't do it where we can see it.
We can't visibly watch you do it.
No, if you vomit,
I have more things to say, but I'm not going to say.
I will say this: if you vomit, if you vomit after you eat the 100, counts. If you vomit before, you can't just like, all right, let's keep going. Like you're done.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't be like, I just created more room. Let's go. If you want to create room in other ways, you can.
That's a long podcast.
I would say, trust me, from eating that much food in the calorie challenge, it doesn't move as quickly as you think it will.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just gonna wash my nuggets down with colon blow. Is that what's gonna happen?
Just like a coffee, just a big coffee right in the middle.
Dude, that makes me want to throw up. Can you imagine drinking hot black coffee while eating chicken nuggets at like a rapid rate? I have to eat a half a nugget per minute if I do it during like the draft.
Are you getting all the sauces? Because I feel like you can't just get.
No, I'm going sauce less.
Oh, you poor soul.
But that's the way to do it. If you eat it with sauce, you're gonna get filled up so much
calories.
quicker.
Yeah,
but like, Ryan, your mouth is gonna dry out by like 30 nuggets.
I told you I did 32
Do the
boneless
Kobayashi.
wings. I did 32 boneless wings at B-Dubs. What do you think the chicken nugget equivalent to that is?
I don't know. Were those sauced?
They weren't
Those
sauce.
were
They
all
were
dry?
dry. Mm-hmm.
Why'd you eat?
Y'all heard it here first.
boneless
Ryan got
chicken
that throat.
wings?
Because they had at B-Dubs, they had the deal where it was like all you can eat boneless wings.
Yeah.
But I just did like dry seasoning on them. So I did desert heat.
Okay.
I didn't dip them in ranch.
Okay. Wait, how many Desert Heat did you do?
32 boneless wings.
Why?
Morgan, Miko, I'll tell you, like, I could have had more, but my gums behind my molars, like, they were raw. Yeah.
Ooh.
From the breading on the yeah. For
so
beat ups. Plus they're like kind of hot too, so
but like that's what I'm saying about like because I'm assuming
the nuggets aren't as hard as breading though. They're not like it's not as thick as breading. So I'm not really that concerned about that.
But you're eating 100 of them, like halfway through, those nuggets are gonna get cold. And now you have to now you gotta eat cold nuggets.
Heaven forbid I go to chat and say, can I microwave them, chat? Or am I going to get vetoed down on that too?
No, no one's going to veto microwaving.
I don't know.
Still consuming them.
We're vetoing other things, trades and such. I would probably say that like a boneless wing at B-dubs is equivalent to like 2 chicken nuggets.
You think so?
I think a boneless wing at B-dubs. I don't know. I don't get boneless wings at B-dubs. So yeah.
I'm really hungry right now, and I don't know why this conversation is making me more hungry. It feels like it should be making me less.
It should be the opposite for sure.
Yeah.
But it's coming. Don't worry. Warm them up with your hot nugget breath. Oh, you know what I'm going to do just to rage bait all of you? I'm going to dip them in DQ gravy.
Oh.
That's what I'm going to do with the last 5. I'm going to stare into Nico's eyes.
Listen here. I don't think you're going to make it. I'll say it right now. I don't think you're making it.
Is this next week? Are we doing this next week?
It depends on slamming. If we're on stream, how long were we on stream? We're on stream for like 3 hours tonight.
This is 3 hours.
Yeah.
How many nuggets that per minute? It's like a little less than, right?
It's 180 minutes.
Right.
So,
and 100 nuggets.
It's almost a nugget every
like
2
about
minutes.
A half. That's just like
yeah.
You did this to yourself.
No, Jared Goff did this. I'm getting out of here.
All right. Midweek mailbag coming later this week. At least one first bite, hopefully coming to PODD subscribers. Yeah, that's all I got. And tune in next week to see Ryan throw up. And me hopefully avoid hitting the corner of my desk doing up downs. Any last words?
I think I've shared the picture with you guys. I have a picture of me like with my 32 on a napkin, like I'm Wilt Chamberlain from Buffalo Wild Wings.
Maybe you have, maybe you haven't.
Oh, we're definitely getting like 100 something. If you do the nuggets, if you do 100 nuggets, you absolutely get to hold up a napkin that says 100.
Yeah,
like,
I might buy you a plaque if you do 100.
Don't say
we
might.
should put it on a t-shirt.
Don't say
we're gonna
might.
screenshot it and put it on a t-shirt, and that'll be like the next Movember gift. See, like you don't even look proud of that. Like really, like even in that photo, you don't look proud.
All right. We'll see you guys on Wednesday for the midweek mailbag. Is that right? Hold on. Let me check my schedule and make sure I'm not giving you false information. I'm pretty sure it's Wednesday, but it might be tomorrow. No, it's Wednesday. Wednesday, 10 a.m.-ish for the midweek mailbag. We'll see you then. Good night.